Maverick News presents The Rick Walker Show. Defrag your mind.
Good evening, everyone. Before we get into anything else, we're going to go live right now to New York, where there's been this crazy big crowd ride thing over a YouTuber's giveaway thing. We'll get you the details. There's a police news conference happening right now. Here we go.
Help us monitor the situation. Of course, our aviation unit is up there as well. Our officers are still being met with some resistance after numerous warnings, and we're still making some additional arrests. This mobilization is ongoing, and as I said before, we will be here until this crowd disperses. At this point, I'll take any questions.
We're going to start off with Josh Heiniger, ABC7. Thank you.
Josh.
We heard reports of injured officers. A woman told us she saw a cop getting jumped and beat. Your shirt, we have video of you being attacked. Your shirt shows. Can you talk about injuries and your own experience?
Absolutely, Josh. I believe the woman's account is possibly right, even though I don't know exactly what she's speaking about. Our officers were attacked. We were in there. We were crushed. We were pushed. I had officers on the floor. As you see, I'm a little embarrassed because I'm very dirty right here, but I was in the middle of the crowd. I was hit with multiple objects as well. I think I have a couple of injuries, but I'll figure that out once I have time to think about it.
But in terms of any officers treated for injuries that you know of?
Yeah, we had one or two officers removed, and we had officers out here. I had officers who got hit and were hurt. They stayed and helped us to control this.
We're going to go Associated Press.
Yeah,
Hi, sir.
I'm wondering if there is any kind of action that might be taken or could be taken against the influencer.
Absolutely. We're in contact with the influencer. I have our legal team here. I'm going to have a discussion with our Commissioner Caban in a little bit, and then we'll make a decision there.
Well, I'm wondering, though, if there's anything specific that you could be charging him with?
Well, we'll discuss with our legal department about inciting a riot and other charges.
We're going to go over to Matt. Chief, were any of the youths injured? How many of them? What was the extent of the injuries? And is he actually giving away PlayStations, or was that just a claim?
That I'm not sure in terms of the PlayStation. I personally observed young people walking out with their heads bleeding from their heads, bleeding from on their faces. I've seen I personally observed young people having panic attacks, anxiety attacks, asthma attacks. There was multiple, people were suffering out here. It was a lot of people. It was uncontrolled. It took us a while to get it under control, and a lot of young people got hurt.
Was that in confrontation with the police, or was that in the riot?
No, most of it was within the park. The young people were in the park throwing objects at each other. They were dancing. They were doing a whole lot of things, but they were hurting each other as they were doing this.
Why were they stealing stuff from the construction site? What was the reason?
That I don't have an answer for.
Matt, we're going to move on. Mark Morales, CNN.
Mark.
What's the estimate as to how many people were here, and where is this YouTuber streaming now? What precinct is he?
We do have him. I don't know exactly which precinct he's in. We have him. In terms of people, there was thousands of people out here. It wasn't hundreds of people. It was thousands, and mostly young people out here.
All right, Dean Moses, AM New York.
This isn't the first time something like this has happened after a giveaway. You guys are looking to prevent this in the future?
We're going to definitely work on this. This is something we will have an after-action review of in terms of how we responded, how we're monitoring social media, and how we can prevent this in the future. We have encountered things like this before, but it never to this level of dangerousness where young people would not listen to our commands. They were fighting each other, they were hurting each other, and they were turning our attacks on us. We had to defend ourselves, and we had to make arrests.
Alfredo Costa, Telemundo. Approximately, how many people?
So this is from Channel 2, CBS New York.
I don't have an exact answer. We loaded up a city bus. The bus, we had young people attacking the bus, trying to pull people off the bus. We had to send.
Look at the size of the crowd.
The bus. It was a very dangerous situation.
Anthony Di Lorenzo, Pix 11. Chief, the question is, how does something like this happen? There was no
monitoring at all or anything on your radar that this massive influence was coming here? I know they didn't
Amazing.
have a permit. I heard you guys don't have a permit. Was this at all on your radar? How did you let it get bigger in this market?
Well, this speaks to the power of social media and the danger of social media. We do monitor social media. When I go back later on this evening, I will have an after action to determine exactly what our steps were. We can't allow this to happen again in the future.
All right, we're going to take one more question. Joe Marino, New York Post.
Chief, just
Go.
to be clear, this wasn't pre-planned with the city. There was no coordination between this event producer and anyone in the department or the city. This was a totally spontaneous event that just sort of jumped off and grew and accelerated very quickly.
Yes, this was not pre-planned with the police department. This was something that was spontaneous. And as I just said in answering the last question, the power of social media, the danger of social media. Listen, we're not against young people having a good time. We're not against young people gathering, but it can't be to this level where it's dangerous. A lot of people got hurt today.
All right, thank you everyone for your time and attention. Thank you, folks.
Wow. Really amazing. So this live happening
listening there
right now. So what's this about? I can tell you that this was a large crowd that gathered in Manhattan's Union Square Park. There was a live streamer event. The live streamer, I'm not familiar with him because I'm old. This guy's name is Kai Cenat. Cenat? C-E-N-A-T. I've never heard of the guy before, but obviously a lot of other people have, especially younger people, because they came out by the thousands today. And I guess they went to this event, and it was some sort of a giveaway. Then they started to tear down construction barricades and began hurling objects. They were throwing some of these things at cops. One vehicle tried to leave the area, and it appeared to be carrying the social media influencer himself, and I think some of the people that had come with him. And then the crowd started to surround it and mob it. And it was moving through the crowd and started to try to speed off with people clinging to the sides and the back of the vehicle. And at least 3 of the people on the vehicle fell off onto the pavement. So Cenat was taken into police custody just about an hour ago. And they've been questioning him. And as you heard, they're probably going to lay charges, possibly related to inciting a riot and other things as well. Now, I have video from the live streamer himself right here to give you an idea of to show you exactly what happened from his perspective. I've not even had time to vet this, but this is the way it went down. Here we go, folks. This is what happened.
Y'all about to see LYPD, bro. Look, police over there. Welcome to New York, bro. I'm telling you, it's a lot of y'all out there right now. Everybody who's out there, make sure y'all safe. Appreciate everybody who popped out for y'all, bro. We gonna make sure it's safe, bro. We're not gonna do nothing until it's safe. Yeah, we gotta make sure it's safe. Everybody's good. But find us already. Hold on, play this whole side if you could, so he can see. Yeah, look. Oh, they see already, bro. You feel me? I ain't gonna lie, it feels so good to be here. Like hometown, like it's home court advantage. We got home court advantage, bro. Home court advantage. Look at this. Look at this. Look at them. They standing like a unity, bro. We gotta get right here. What? I think this is a civil rights. That's right now. I bet. So we out. Yo, chat. Look, let me tell chat something real quick. Yo, chat. I know y'all here with me. It's time. But what goes on from here on out, bro? You feel what I'm saying? Everybody for themselves. There's a war out there, man. God damn.
Are you sick of having issues with your webinars? Wasting time.
He's obviously got his site monetized, which is more than I can say. Hang on, here we go. Okay, we're going back to it now.
Come on, God, turn me up, man. Oh, shit. Oh my God, it's yo, make sure y'all protect Chris. He got the motherfucking camera. He got the mafia.
Your book bag, boy. Yeah. I can't have nobody bumping into my.
All the A&P out here, man. Yeah.
Let me get off first.
Oh, where we going? Where the park? Where the park? Where the park at?
Right here.
Oh, we out. Okay, out to the middle.
Y'all in front. Yo, I can't have nobody bumping into my book bag this time because we see it close to free.
Splitting up. They splitting up.
Yo, I cannot go out there with the book bag.
The lower Manhattan, and you can see news helicopters are overhead. That's Union Square Park. The park has been swarmed and basically overrun by people. Look at the crowds of people there. In fact, subway lines, bus lanes, they're bypassing Union Square. It's a big subway station in Manhattan. Apparently, what had happened here is a popular Twitch streamer was holding a video game giveaway. If you don't know what Twitch is, you're not alone. I barely know what it is. It's apparently a platform where you can watch other people play video games.
Which is a thing. A lot of,
Sounds
clearly.
incredibly boring, but obviously it's a thing. So this Kai Cenat was going to do a giveaway. He announced it on his Instagram feed. And look at this. It's basically become a mob scene there. They're on top of cars. Yeah, this is Union Square.
Well, Sandra, as you can see, I am standing next to the Union Square subway station entrance where it looks like it was closed off because of construction. But look up on top of that. That's what's happening on top of the subway station entrance. There's, I can't even count, countless people up on top of there. They're climbing it right now, as you can see. In fact, if you can pan to your left, they're actually on top of the statue here at Union Square. I've actually got a couple of his followers here with me who can kind of explain to us what they were expecting, what happened. Young man, give me your name real quick and tell me why you came out here, what you expected to happen, what did happen.
All right, my name is Dilakwan Tavius. So basically, it's Kai Cenat, Phantom, all of the AMP members. Oh, I don't know about all of them, but they pulled up, do a little meet and greet and a giveaway for the fans.
Giveaway of what was the understanding?
So, from my understanding, PS5s, video game accessories, PCs, but I don't think they will actually give away an actual PC because how is somebody going to carry that? So I'm pretty sure it's gift cards for them to then go and get the P5 themselves.
Safe to assume that you, along with your friends, came out here thinking that you would get some freebies. Is that correct?
Not that we're thinking, but there's a chance to because there's so many people and there's only so much you could give.
Has any of that happened? Is he here?
He's here right now, yeah. And they were giving out, but people are, people are being people. There's so many people here. People are pushing around, so you can't really get it organized.
Okay. And before we came on, you were telling me that, in your own words, that some people out here were bugging out. Explain to me what you saw, what you meant by that.
Bugging out, like you can see, there's no excuse, obviously, for what happened, but stuff like that just happens all the time. People being reckless. It's New York City. Stuff like this happens every day. Well, I wouldn't say every day, but you know what I'm saying?
Well, thank you and be safe. As you can see, Sandra, we've also heard and seen incidents of construction equipment behind me. I'm going to show you one last live look again of what's happening here. Construction equipment being tossed around. We saw smoke. I'm not sure if that was a fire or some kind of smoke bomb. Again, this was all sparked by a Twitch streamer, a social media influencer. He has 20 million followers. He asked them all
20 million followers
for what was a PlayStation 5 giveaway at 4 o'clock. Apparently, we're also hearing that people showed up only to find out there were no freebies. And as you heard, he is here. At one moment, he was live streaming in a van nearby, but he did step out.
I think I have like 12 on Twitch.
We even observed Chief of Department Madry out here having objects thrown at him. Cops are obviously outnumbered out here.
Stefan, I don't want to interrupt you for one quick second right now because you're looking at live pictures of a car that was literally covered with people, and we do believe that that was the vehicle that had Kai Cenat in it, which you can see now.
Kai Cenat. Never heard of the guy. Has 20 million followers.
The area. That is why you're seeing that crowd there chase after.
That's it.
That's the vehicle right there that they believe Kai Cenat is in right now. As Safan was saying, he was there. He was in the crowd for a little bit of time, but clearly this was an out of control crowd and no freebies given away, no giveaway whatsoever, getting in the car. But clearly you're looking at a very dangerous situation with this car now driving pretty fast with those people clinging on to the side and top of it.
It's mind-boggling.
It's mind-boggling why they're not stopping to let these people off the car. And then they're just someone fell off. Okay, joining us now is Bob Boyce, former NYPD, to talk more about this situation. Bob, can you hear us? It's Liz Cho and Sandra Bookman.
I can, Liz. I can hear you.
Okay, we know you're on the phone. I don't know if you have an opportunity to see what's going on in Union Square, but talk to us a little bit about police procedure. Obviously, this was a situation that police were not expecting. So how is it that they start getting the upper hand in crowd control here?
So they call the level 3 mobile.
So you can see what happened. I mean, it's just an out of control situation. And it looks like they didn't even end up giving anything away to anybody. All this for some gift cards or some video games. I think they're lucky nobody was killed. At least it doesn't look like anybody was killed at this point. Just absolute, well, it says it right on the screen there, mayhem in New York City. What a crazy event. Kai Cenat. Never heard of the guy before. 20 million followers on Twitch. 20 million followers on Twitch. Here's another angle we'll pull out of this. Bunch of different news clips there for you. Bunch of different news clips. I've got a different angle coming up here. Crazy situation. And I'm going to comment a little bit on Twitch. It just so happens I was watching Twitch last night. Oh, hang on. It's freezing. There we go. Another look at what was going on there. So yeah, you know, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Twitch, but it is mainly a video game platform. We do broadcast to Twitch, but of course we don't get a very large audience there because of the demographic, because most of what goes on there is supposed to be about video games. But I was actually surprised last night because while I was over in our account, just taking care of some maintenance on the video content that we have loaded up, I noticed that at night, the content it's like live softcore porn with video game and LARPing or role playing going on with young women in costumes. Like, I guess they're like costumes from, I don't know what they are, video game characters, anime. I don't really watch anime. I don't play video games. I'm old. I get it. And I've been to comic book conventions, so I see what's kind of going on. But yeah, it's like, and you know, I didn't realize that was really what was going on over on Twitch. And this guy, 20 million followers on Twitch. It's a different kind of a platform. And I realized last night as I was over there taking care of our account that I've been using it all wrong. Using the platform completely wrong. Yeah, it needs to be more interactive over there if you want to build an audience. Maybe we'll go over there and start doing more interactive stuff and if I can figure out how to make the best use of the platform. But Let me go to a quick break here and we'll come back. We have a lot of other stuff to cover tonight. And coming up at 7 o'clock, Lori will join us with Anastasia Battle is her name. Our guest tonight, special interview. She is one of the organizers for an upcoming No Nukes peace protest in New York, I believe. And we'll tell you all about that at 7 o'clock. But we have other news to cover before we get to that point. So don't go away. I will be right back after this.
Greetings, brave Mavericks. Our quest for truth continues. We go beyond fake news. Together we expose propaganda. Together we pull others out of rabbit holes. We are maverick thinkers. We are all unique individuals, defenders of individual rights and freedoms, credible, trusted, grounded in reality. Maverick News, Maverick News. Defending free speech, free speech. Donate at freedomreporters.com. Do it now. Tomorrow may be too late. Maverick News. The world is watching. Maverick News. The world is watching.
So, first story out of the gate tonight, we're actually part of. It's all about censorship and the state of social media. Now, I guess in a way it relates to what we just watched because you just saw the power of social media. And what I'm talking about here is the opposite of that, the power of censorship. We've been banned on YouTube on our main channel. You may be watching us, one of the very few on one of the alternative YouTube channels that exist that may be carrying us tonight. I think Lori has a YouTube channel that is probably picking up this feed. There is, I think, one other YouTube channel that might be carrying it, but our main YouTube channel, we've been banned for at least a week, maybe longer. We will see. And it is because of last night's show. What exactly the reason was, not entirely sure, because they don't really tell you why. They say, they give you a reason, but they don't identify the content specifically. So I've been telling people for a long time that if you want to make sure you're able to watch us, you really need to subscribe over on Rumble. Because we're not banned over there, and we are building an audience over there. But if you're not seeing us on YouTube and you're scratching your head, I can't tell you because I'm not allowed to post anything on YouTube now. Oh, and by the way, if you were watching on Facebook, you can't watch us there either. Maybe on one page, but all of our other pages have been blocked. Why? Bill C-18. I received notification from Facebook this morning that our content is now officially blocked in Canada because they are blocking all, or they're starting to block all news content. And because we deal with news and current affairs, we've been targeted and our content is now blocked in our Country of origin, Canada. So you might be seeing us in the US on Facebook, but if you're Canadian, you're out of luck. And I can't tell you on Facebook because you can't see us anymore. So we are really effectively blocked on YouTube. We're now effectively blocked on Facebook. We are left pretty much with Rumble, Twitch, where I think we have maybe between 2 and 12 viewers a night. Where else are we broadcasting? Afterward, I will upload this to CloudHub, BitChute, YouTube. We actually get viewers over there. We get a lot on CloudHub every night. We get quite a few over there after, but we can't broadcast live to that platform. We are on Twitter as well. We do broadcast on Twitter, but honestly, the long form live video is not, really what Twitter was made for. So it doesn't work really well. We do get some viewers, but not a lot. It's just not set up quite the way it needs to be for long form video. So we're live over there, but whatever. Rumble is where it's at, man. So, I do know that we have viewers on there tonight, but now it's going to be difficult for at least a week to direct people over to Rumble. A lot of people think we're just not on the air, not broadcasting. And that's, for us, unfortunate, but we'll come back. We'll bounce back. Why would they do that? They say in the notification that I received this morning at approximately 9:30 a.m., that the program from last night was taken down because we were spreading conspiracy theories and because we were engaging in harassment and bullying. Those 3 reasons. I wasn't aware that we had bullied anyone, but that's what we were accused of. It was a 2.5-hour long broadcast, and just to give you an indication of how their appeal process works in this age of censorship, I did appeal, and they rejected it in less than 5 minutes. The appeal process can take up to 14 days for them to respond. In our case, less than 5 minutes. I had a response. They rejected the appeal. The appeal process is supposed to go through a senior YouTube reviewer, a person who was not involved in the original decision to ban somebody, which means they have to review the content and the reason for the appeal and the reason for the ban or suspension. The broadcast was 2.5 hours long. How does someone review a 2.5 hour long program, consider the material, consider the appeal, consider what was said, consider all of the information or evidence, if you will, and then come down with a judgment and conviction on a 2.5 hour long video that they would not have seen before in less than 5 minutes? It was instant. It was like they obviously didn't even take the time to review what was sent in by me. What was the content that got us banned? In my view, it could have been many things. It could have been several things. Probably it was related to a couple of things. Probably related to the interview that we did with Rhonda Jubinville last night, who is facing a reprimand from Chatham-Kent City Council, my hometown, where she is making international headlines because of her motion, which was defeated, to restrict flag raisings to only government flags at municipal buildings in this municipality. That means no more special interest groups' flags to be flown outside municipal buildings. Some people turned that into an LGBTQS plus issue, although in Rhonda's case, that was actually never specifically mentioned in her motion. Was it part of it? Yes, of course it was part of it, but so too were issues surrounding church groups that had been ignored when they asked to have their flags flown in front of municipal buildings. Anyway, it was all about that issue. There was also video that we showed last night of somebody engaging in a verbal confrontation with a person who was a supporter of Pride in Calgary, Alberta, where Pride colors had been painted on a sidewalk as part of a promotional thing. And somebody came along and there was a verbal confrontation. Leave it at that. I think you probably know what I'm talking about. Anyway, it could have been related to that, even though I was just showing people the same video that's been shared all over social media now and even through the mainstream media. And I just told the story, which is that Calgary police are investigating the incident now as a possible hate crime. So it might have been related. I don't know, man. And conspiracy theories, I said nothing last night related to any conspiracy theory that I'm aware of other than possible interpretation of coverage of the Donald Trump arraignment in court on those charges, suggesting he may have conspired to try to overturn the last election. It might have been related to that. I don't know. Anyway, we're banned on our main YouTube channel for at least another week. Nobody can see us on Facebook anymore, except on the one page where we don't have our subscribers there or our followers. So it's Rumble now. That's where we're at. When we come back onto YouTube in about a week, I will be treating the platform differently. These people at Google do not understand that what we do, what other creators do, we're doing them a favor by providing the content. We are the product that they sell. You are the product that they sell. Your data. We provide the content to them that they can sell, and we provide it to them at no cost. If they sell advertising around the content that people provide for free, they give the creators a very, very small portion of it sometimes. In our case, nothing. They don't deserve to have us. They don't deserve to have you. And we will be limiting severely what we post on YouTube moving forward. That's just the way it has to be. It's just beyond ridiculous. It will get worse as we move into election mode, both in Canada and especially in the United States. I would say this may even be related to the election because, as you know, we've been covering a lot of RFK stuff. We've been covering a fair bit of Trump stuff over the past, quite a long time. And, and the facts, the stories, they speak for themselves when it comes to Joe Biden and Justin Trudeau. So that's where we're at with that. Now, here's Michelle Rempel-Gardner. We're talking about she's a conservative member of parliament. Here she is talking about Facebook now beginning to ban all news content in Canada, including us. I think we got hit here right off the bat. I have noticed that some other mainstream media outlets are still posting. It appears their content can still be seen, but man, they came right after us. First thing. So we were among the very first in the country to get nailed with this new round of censorship. This form of censorship, actually, an unintended consequence of the government's new legislation, Bill C-18, which was designed to force social media companies to pay a fee to news creators, and in particular, mainstream legacy news outlets like CBC, CTV, Global, City TV, et cetera, anybody posting online, and I think even the newspapers, and probably even radio news outlets, anybody producing news content. Facebook doesn't want to pay. Or so they say, and so that apparently is the reason why this new round of unintended censorship has now taken hold. And here's Michelle Rempel-Gardner addressing exactly that.
Okay, guys, this is not a drill. This is not a drill. This is actually happening. So we know that Justin Trudeau's censorship bill C-18 passed in late June, and Meta and Google said that they would be banning the publication of news in Canada on their platforms. This is not a drill. This is actually happening. It is starting today as we speak. So this is the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. This is not known as to be like a bastion of conservative thought or whatever. This is the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, and it is reporting right now that Meta is ending news availability on its platforms in Canada starting today. It's starting now as we speak. Meta's been taking time to get this news ban in place. It is in place. It's rolling out. If you are in Canada, you are not going to be able to see news on Facebook, Google very shortly. It is starting. This is because of Justin Trudeau's censorship bill. This is crazy. This is on the CBC. It is true. It's happening. Here's what I need you to do. Share this video. This isn't partisan. Every Canadian needs to understand that because of Justin Trudeau's censorship bill, C-18, they're not going to be able to see the news on Facebook or on Google. Okay? So that's number one. You got to share this video. Number two, there is a link in the description of this video. So if you go out and you look in the link of the video description, I'll put it in the comments in a minute. I have been trying to write to you to create loopholes in this because I knew it was coming. So I'm writing to you. Every day I'm trying to write as much as possible to give you updates on what's happening in Ottawa. If you click subscribe in the link that is in that link in the video description there, I'll be able to directly communicate with you. To be honest with you, we don't know what's going to be banned. We don't know how this is going to roll out. We don't know what links are what you're going to be able to see. We already knew that Facebook had algorithmic type bans before this event started, but now formally there's no sharing of news in Canada on Facebook. So again, that's a CBC, that's a Canadian Broadcasting Corporation is reporting this. I need you to click the link in the video description. Please allow me to directly communicate with you. If you have other news organizations in Canada that you read or you watch, you've got to subscribe to them too. That is the only way you're going to be able to see the news in Canada. Now, some of you will put in the comments there, oh, well, what about a VPN? Honestly, in the fall, the Liberals have said that they are going to probably have even more strict censorship regulations, more regulations of the internet. We don't know what's coming down the pipe here, but we do know starting today that Facebook and Google, because of Justin Trudeau's censorship bill, are blocking the news in Canada. So again, this is critical. There's a loophole for me to communicate directly with you. Click the link that's in the video description. I will put it in the comments as soon as I'm done, and click subscribe. It is free. It allows me to tell you about what's happening in Ottawa as opposed to using this platform because I don't have a choice anymore. This is the way that I need to communicate with you. So you have to share this video. I know I sound like a broken record coming on here all the time, but guys, this is like, how can we hold the government to account if they've passed bills that allow this type of censorship? And that's exactly what they want. Do you think that Justin Trudeau is sad today that Facebook is banning the news? No, of course not, because he doesn't want people like me or other people that are reporting on what's happening or discussing the news in Canada. He doesn't want that to be out there. That's why he passed this bill, right? Seriously. So this is what's happened. I need you to, again, just take 1 minute. Honestly, click on the link that's in the video description. I'll put it in the comments. Click subscribe, share this video, and let people know this is nonpartisan. I don't care how you vote. In order for us to have any sort of political discourse in this country, we need to have news. And today, Facebook is starting to ban the news. It's starting. It's happening. You guys have known it's coming. I think a lot of people didn't think it was actually going to happen. It has started. This is crazy. This is Canada. This is happening in our country. The only way that we can fight back is if we know it's happening. And so I just ask you again, I'm trying to create loopholes for you guys. Click on that link, click subscribe so I can keep in touch with you and share this video so that others know just how crazy this is. Support the news that you do subscribe to. It's so important today have that direct communication link with me. I don't know what's going to happen with this platform now that this is rolling out, but please click subscribe. The article that's in there, the link there, it's telling you about this big, massive thing that happened in Prince Edward Island with Chrystia Freeland and the carbon tax, unpacking that for you. There's a whole bunch of other articles on there unpacking the cabinet shuffle, some of the other policy that's really had a big impact that's been rolled out in the last week. Please click subscribe. Facebook is banning the news because of Justin Trudeau's censorship bill. So is Google. This is Canada. This is crazy. Working hard for you. Have a great
day. This is either by design for some reason, or they are just completely incompetent in Ottawa, the Prime Minister and his team. They've tried to superimpose or overlay the same kind of regulatory framework onto the internet and social media companies that they have used for decades on Canadian broadcasters, television stations, and radio stations. That's what Bill C-18 is about. So is Bill C-11, those two pieces of legislation. They've tried to take the same approach. Years ago, I could see some merit in the Canadian content rules that were used, and that is because Canada is an expansive country. We're right next door to the United States, where we are bombarded, flooded with American programming, even the CBC, CTV, the television networks. They buy broadcast rights to run American shows, which are extremely popular and highly produced in Canada with broadcast territorial protections. So the government forced broadcasters to produce a certain amount of Canadian content. This approach made some sense, I guess, back in the day, because the technology was different. There was so much geography to cover in terms of news coverage. The broadcast companies had to sort of be forced in many instances to provide news coverage, especially in remote areas or smaller communities. And so as part of their broadcast license, promises of performance is what they were called. They required the broadcasters to provide news coverage in many smaller communities across Canada. And the CBC received government funding so that they could afford to send journalists and production crews to remote places like the Arctic, the Northwest Territories, Northern Ontario, the far off reaches of British Columbia, whatever, all kinds of remote places, or even just small towns where it might not be profitable to produce news coverage, but it's needed in order to keep the country together and make people feel Canadian. It made sense back in the day, but the technology has changed. Everybody has a cell phone now. You have citizen journalists out there. They're holding on really hard, squeezing very, very tightly and squeezing these social media companies. And now, as a result, you've got this unintended consequence where they're just all the news is going to be gone on social media. And we're gone. We're gone on Facebook. We're gone on YouTube. And I am speaking into a vacuum tonight, except over on Rumble, where we do have an audience. And also, Lori can hear me.
Yeah, you're not alone. I can hear you. We're both speaking into a vacuum together. Hey, guys, if you look under my name right there, if you're looking for us on YouTube and you can't find us, search YouTube for Strange Bedfellows Podcast. And at least for now, we are simulcasting what should be on our main Maverick News channel, but They freaking banned us again. Dude. And Facebook. Both. Unbelievable. For different reasons, of course. I mean, Trudeau's doing his thing, censoring the news up there in Canada. And here in the States, Biden is doing his thing, censoring his opponents on YouTube. By the way, speaking of his opponents who get censored on YouTube, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. just filed another major lawsuit against Google and YouTube on Wednesday, alleging censorship, which we know is happening. It's absolutely a fact. You know, every time my old YouTube channel, which was banned permanently, every time I posted a video about Kennedy, I would get it removed or I'd get a strike. Then they demonetized me. And finally, they just cut the channel completely and banned it. So I've started over with a new channel. Don't have many subscribers yet. I'm trying to rebuild all those subscribers I lost over at Strange Bedfellows podcast. But I just read the legal complaint last night that Kennedy filed. It's 27 pages. It's delicious. I would encourage everyone to go read it. He is going to take Biden behind the barn and spank him. But the best thing about this lawsuit is discovery. Now we're going to get the YouTube files. We have the Twitter files. And because of the lawsuit Missouri versus Biden, we got a lot of files out of Facebook, proving that there was, in fact, communication between the White House and Facebook. And the White House was telling them which accounts to take down. We know they did it on Twitter. So do you really think they're not doing it on YouTube? Of course they are.
Yeah.
Of course they are.
Yeah.
So he's fighting for us. This isn't just a lawsuit for him. You know, it's not right to censor anyone, but especially a presidential candidate, whether you support Kennedy for president or not. It's just wrong. So, but the lawsuit is very clear that it wants the accounts restored as part of the remedy he's seeking of everyone who ever had a video about Kennedy removed. That means us. That means me. That means you.
Yes, that's right.
That means Mike Tyson and Theo Vaughn and Jordan Peterson and Luke Rudowski and so many others, Kim Iverson, who've had our videos about Kennedy taken down, had strikes assessed on our channels. We are punished if we talk about this guy. And Rick, I'm willing to bet you money, because I know they didn't tell us exactly why they banned the show last night, other than saying, or the channel, other than saying conspiracy theories. You know what that means. That's code for Trump.
That's right.
You know, supposedly they changed their rules and you can talk about the 2020 election now, but apparently you really can't.
No.
Because if Trump says one word about it in public and you live stream it, your channel's going down. And that's what happened. I'm willing to bet you, because there was nothing last night, nothing that was violent or harassing of anyone or anything like that. And I just can't see any other reason for it. It was the day of his indictment. So
they cited several different reasons, and the Trump thing, of course, front and center. But then there was also that interview that I did with Rhonda, and she's thinking, you know, well, I shouldn't say she's thinking, but what I'm learning is that even over just at the local level, there may have been people who complained about the interview because of this, you know, the pride flag issue, and things have ramped up over there to the point where I'm hearing that there's going to be she's been reprimanded. She's been docked. It looks like they're going to take her paycheck away for 3 months as a municipal councilor. And now it's gone crazy. Some of the councilors are asking for police protection on the night when they review the motion to have her reprimanded, to have her the approval in place, which council has to vote on in order to take her pay away, all through the ethics commissioner. So some of these people have got the smelling salts out, these other council members, over at City Hall here, and they're asking for police protection on that night. That blows my mind.
Me too. It seems illegal to take a city council member's pay from them for 3 months.
So
that ought to be illegal. She should sue. They say you can't sue City Hall, but what if you are City Hall? Can you sue City Hall if you are City Hall? I mean, she is working at City Hall.
And it's a local issue, but she, like I said, she's making international headlines, and
wow.
And you see it ramping up here. And then from here, that same issue has been dealt with at many, in many, many municipalities, most notably in Dearborn, Michigan, where they dealt with this same issue, and they voted to ban the pride flag specifically in that community. And so she didn't even identify specifically the pride flag. She just said government flags, and she's being accused of
bigotry,
bullying, and hatred, and these things, right?
Hmm.
But over there, it was specifically about that. It's just everything has gone insane.
What a bunch of snowflakes. Man, we live in snowflake world. I mean, I know it's Canada. You guys get a lot of snow, but come on. You know what? You know what you should have done on Facebook? You should have just changed the name of the channel to anything but news.
Yeah.
Here's what you do, Rick. You go to Facebook, you start a new account, and you call it Cute Cat Videos or Hot Chicks in Bikinis or anything but news, video games, right?
Yeah.
And you'll have 20 million followers. Just don't put news in the title or the description, and you'll be okay. Take it from me.
Like I was on Twitch last night, and it was.
I didn't know they had hot chicks on Twitter. Wow.
I was like, "What is this?" It was like at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock,
Wow.
and it's like hot chicks in video game LARPing costumes, role playing, and there was some big fat dude with his shirt off in the picture-in-picture thing, and people were donating to get him off the screen, and other people were donating to get him back on the screen. And I'm like, what is going on? It's insanity.
I didn't know they did that on Twitch, but I never use Twitch. It's just not my thing. I'm not a gamer.
Well, they were playing games, but it wasn't just video games. It was all like adult soft like softcore adult content stuff, and live.
I'm missing out. I should be on Twitch, man. I should wear a costume.
No, I'm too old for the crowd there, man. It was like they're all in their 20s, and I'm like, I think I better just sign off.
That's when you're the old guy in the room, right?
That's right. That's right.
Exactly.
I didn't know that went on there at night.
I had no idea. Twitch after hours, huh?
So if you have kids and they're telling you that they're playing video games late at night, you might want to take a second look at what's going on.
Oh my goodness, Rick.
Just saying.
Well, we are going to have a good show tonight, even if our audience is a lot smaller than usual because our main YouTube channel is censored. But we're going to bring you a great show nonetheless. So thank you, everybody who could find us and everybody who is watching on Rumble and some of our smaller YouTube channels and Twitter and yes, Twitch, all 12 of you. Good to see you folks over there on Twitch. Try to keep your clothes on.
Yeah, and we do have an audience. We do have an audience tonight. It's
more people watch us on Rumble these days than YouTube anyhow, which I think is awesome. That's awesome. I mean, even on a regular basis, when we're just on YouTube, we always have a bigger audience, pretty much over on Rumble. I hope it stays that way. Rumble may have some glitches in the app, and it's not perfect, but they don't censor you. And it's a great platform. I hope you'll support us. You can donate over on Rumble. We're demonetized on YouTube permanently. So if you want to support the show, and we really do need your support, I hope you'll send us a Rumble rant or subscribe over on Rumble, or donate at freedomreporters.com. Is that the right website, Rick?
Yes, it is.
Or Maverick donations.
Yeah, thank you for
We've got a few of those, but we really do need your help. We're trying to branch out and find new ways, new creative ways to get around this unprecedented censorship.
And one of the ways I do that is with the website, and I can embed the video straight into the website. It takes more work every night to do it.
Yep.
There's an expense associated with running that website, but it is up and running, and that's at mavericknews.ca. Mavericknews.ca. So you can go over there, and
there's another place to watch. Yeah.
Yep. So, I mean, there are other places to go.
And they can't censor you on your own darn website. See, you're doing it like Alex Jones.
That's right.
Doing it smart. Do it
That's
on
right.
your own damn website.
Yep.
Smart.
But I've been running the YouTube feed through the video window there, but I do know how. I figured out to actually just run the video feed straight through there, but I have to, it's a little bit cumbersome every single day to do that. It adds more time to the setup. So that's what I say sometimes to people when they're like, "Oh, how come you're having trouble streaming?" Well, it's not that simple. It's not like, just pushing a button and just going live, especially with the website stuff.
But hey, AI can do that for you in 10 seconds, right?
That's right.
Wow.
I told you when we were chatting today, I was writing computer code with artificial intelligence, stuff that would normally take hours or even days.
Yeah.
Complex computer code for a website today, 10 seconds.
Incredible.
Stuff that honestly could take like an entire day to write.
That's right.
And
so
I
it
was
makes
like,
you wonder, huh? I mean, technology makes our lives so much easier. That just freed up hours of your time to go do something else. But it's still scary because it's man versus the machine, and who actually controls whom.
Extremely disruptive technology. This will displace so many people in so many different kinds of jobs, and these will be white collar jobs, people highly educated, highly trained. It will displace people from jobs in ways that we've never seen before. People are not prepared for this. Our society is not prepared for this. This is coming faster than anyone realizes. This ties into what I've been saying for the past couple of weeks on the program, which is that, especially within the freedom groups or the freedom movement, right? People, there's such a desire to kind of get back to basics, get back to roots, get back to, whole foods and, simple living. But I'm warning everybody that is not a long-term solution because, well, a lot of people around me, I should say, are getting ready to run into the woods at the first sign of trouble or go live in a tiny shed someplace and get back to basics and back to nature. Well, we're focused in that mindset. On the other side of the equation, they're already using artificial intelligence. If you don't embrace it, if you don't figure out a way to use it, adapt and cope and learn to live with it and use it to your advantage so that you can survive, you will own nothing and you will not be happy. I can guarantee you, because this is what is coming. And
it's coming faster than a speeding bullet.
Nothing. And it won't matter how many protests you have. It won't matter what you do. You will not stop this. It cannot be stopped. It is already here and it is expanding at an exponential rate. That means that what you think is going to take years is going to take months or maybe even weeks.
Or 10 seconds.
10 seconds.
Let that sink in. Our guest is here. Shall we take a quick break and come back with our feature interview?
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
We shall return.
Off the soapbox. We'll be right back.
Okay. Hang on. I have to find the right thing to click. Here we go.
The New World Order. Government overreach. The Great Reset. Mainstream media lies. Now more than ever, Independent voices are needed. Donate now at freedomreporters.com. That's freedomreporters.com. Maverick News, the antivirus program for your mind.
Here we are, and shall we bring in our guest? Yes, we
Let's
shall.
do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
There she is. Hello.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Very nice to meet you.
Good to meet you too, Rick.
Great to see you. We finally meet face to face. You know, we've been doing Twitter spaces and stuff together, so we know each other's voices, but we've never actually seen each other's faces. It's great to see you, Anastasia.
Yeah, good to finally meet you too.
Folks, I'd like to introduce you to Anastasia Battle. She's an organizer with Humanity for Peace and the Schiller Institute. Some of you may have been watching Strange Bedfellows on Saturday night, where we had Jose Vega and Kynan Thistlethwaite on the show to talk about their movement, the LaRouche movement, which is a fascinating movement. And Anastasia is also part of the Schiller Institute. So they're all working together along with a number of other groups to do a big rally in New York City this Sunday. And I should probably let you tell us what it's all about rather than me running my mouth. Go ahead, Anastasia. Tell us what it's all about.
So we're doing something which is incredibly ambitious, but also very important right now. And what's been happening over the past 9 weeks is we've started something called the International Peace Coalition, which actually both of you are very welcome to be part of. This is a private steering committee of people who actually think that we're facing nuclear war and we have to do something about it. So through that process of dialogue, which includes people from all over the world, especially from the global south, the United States, Germany, a number of other NATO countries, we decided that we were going to pull an international demonstration and activate everything that we possibly can. And I'm sure you guys are very aware of the interventions that Jose Vega, Kynan, myself, I'm actually the Obama interventionist. I'm the one that
was you.
That was me. I had the camera and I was videotaping my husband and myself at the same time. But I'm the one
awesome.
that yelled. Thank you. I'm the one
I love
that. Obama, you overthrew the legitimate Ukraine in 2014. Victoria Nuland financed the overthrow. And of course, we got dragged out. It was great. It was marvelous. And it was on national television because it was Obama.
Right. Well done. Well done.
Thank you. But what was really, so this process has brought a lot of people together saying we have to have some courage right now. So this rally is part of an international intervention where all of our groups who are peace-loving people who care about human beings, the humanity actually surviving, are now going out and finding other people like that, fighting with their own groups, right? I mean, you guys are well aware of this, that, I mean, all these peace groups, they don't even get along with each other. Exactly. They fight and they bicker over everything. Yes. It's ridiculous. Oh, I don't work with those people because they said this one thing, or they took my lover 20 years ago, or they took my whatever. So this is part of an international intervention to say, just get over it.
I never understood how peace groups who want peace seem to engage in so much war with each other. It just doesn't make any sense.
Honestly, it's impotence. It's impotence. It's people who are more committed to failure than deciding that they have to do something creative and different and work with people that they may not like for the greater good. This is what the American Revolution was, right? This is what, the best ideas that have ever come about in human history. This was people coming together above their ideologies for an important idea.
That's right. I mean, that's how we ended the Vietnam War. It took 15 years, and the protests just got larger and larger and larger. And I saw an interesting poll just yesterday saying that 1/3 of Americans say that we should send our troops to fight in Ukraine. Stunning. 1/3. And I'm thinking, well, I guess that 1/3 should be the first to go then. Let's go sign up at the local recruitment office. I don't really see them rushing down to the recruitment office to sign up. So, are they willing to put their muscle where their mouth is and their bodies on the line? Because I'm telling you, folks, I really don't have high hopes of winning a war against Russia. If American kids go over there, they're going to die in large numbers. It could make Vietnam look like a walk in the park.
Absolutely. No, and the irony is that this war isn't even about Ukraine. It's not. Nobody actually cares about the people of Ukraine. If they did, they would have allowed the peace negotiations that have already been worked out to be accepted. But we keep sending money, we keep sending weapons. And so what this is a whole process to get not just war with Russia, but with war with China and with any nation that you see cooperating with them, especially around the BRICS, right? You're seeing nations in the world who are rising up against imperialism, who are saying enough, right? Like these African countries, Eritrea, right, was just in Russia and said, this is enough. We've had enough of this. Right? These countries want to come out and actually fight for their sovereignty and their right for progress. And that's really what, this war is about. It's not about Ukraine.
No, it's about money and control of Russia's resources, I think. That's my take. And, it's an old war. It's 100-year war. I'm a historian. I read a lot of musty old history books. The United States and the West has been trying to destroy and do a regime change in Russia since at least 1917. We did this all during the Cold War, which was completely dumb. And now we're doing it again in a new Cold War. And they're not even a communist country anymore, but they've got a lot of resources and we want those resources. We want to control that vast landscape, just as a guy named Adolf Hitler did once upon a time. That was the whole reason that Hitler wanted to invade Russia and to conquer it, was the resources, the Lebensraum,
Well, also what a lot of people don't know in the United States is that there's a whole new financial infrastructure that's been created with the BRICS, like the new Development Bank, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, and that this is allowing developing nations to sit down at the table as equals, not saying, oh, Mr. Banker, would you please give me some money and then screw me over in a year when you blow up my currency, which is what's happened. That's what's happened to all these countries. They know it. So you have a new financial infrastructure which is in place, which respects nations. So that's a huge threat to the establishment right now, quite frankly, a bankrupt establishment.
You better believe it. And today, because I'm very excited about this rally, and I'm so glad that you guys are doing it. I hope it's a huge success. I sent out some invites to people that I know are speaking at this rally tomorrow because you've got an all-star lineup. Thought we might get a couple of celebrities to drop by tonight and do a cameo. And one of them just showed up. Let's bring her in, Rick, if you could add
Sure.
Our friend Diane Sare. She is an independent candidate for the United States Senate in the great state of New York. She challenged my lips aren't working, Chucky Schumer for his Senate seat. And she's not going to stop fighting for the people. Welcome, Diane. It's great to see you. Great to see you face to face. Hello, my friend.
Exactly. Thanks a lot. Can you hear me okay? I just want to make sure I have the right audio connected. Okay, great.
Yep, sounded good.
Thanks. Great. Wonderful to be here and to see you. And I think you're right. I think there's a lot of excitement building around the rally. I visited a large mosque today in just outside of New York City, where someone I've known for many years is on the board of trustees, and he made the announcement of the rally. There were probably about 600 people there. Everybody took leaflets. He himself is coming to the UN. When I was running for Senate against Schumer, he would always introduce me as saying she stood by us after 9/11, because as people may know, after 9/11, and LaRouche, actually, Lyndon LaRouche put out an incredible press statement called "Shoot the Neighbor's Cat" on September 15th, where he said what the news media is trying to do to people is like the guy who comes home, discovers his house has been robbed, takes out a shotgun, runs next door, and blows away the neighbor's cat. And when his wife says, "Honey, that's the neighbor's cat," he said, "I don't care. And if you don't get out of my way, I'm going to shoot you too." And what LaRouche was warning against was a stampeding into war against little nations, which could not possibly have had the capability to carry out what happened on September 11th. And he warned, if you do this, you are going into an era of perpetual war. Whereas you had that incredible gesture of goodwill, actually, from Putin, who was the first head of state to call George Bush after it happened.
That is right.
Right. We're taking down our, whatever the systems are of missiles that are ready. We don't want to trigger something even worse. I mean, a real gesture of goodwill. And here we now are trying to destroy and overthrow Russia. So my friend from this mosque, every time he introduces me, he said, and in New York, what happened, I should just finish that part, is that particularly Pakistani Americans, but Muslims in general, were getting picked up and incarcerated. They were taken off to prison and detention centers, even in the middle of the night. Their families didn't know where they were, and all kinds of Muslim-owned businesses went under. It was a huge witch hunt.
They were targeted.
Exactly.
They were targeted.
And he always says, introducing me, she stood with us after 9/11. And so, of course, then people hearing it from him, who's very respected in the community, are very, very open. And I think what you have going on now in Africa, because the continent is, as Anastasia was just developing, is, in a sense, it's the embodiment of the transformation of the new system. That if we can prevent humanity from completely annihilating itself, this continent, in collaboration with China and Russia, 20 years from now, 50 years from now, could be a paradise. Every nation there could be phenomenally developed. They're clearly going to have high-speed rail before the United States at this rate. Right? And they want to punish them, and they want to stop that. So you have a block of West African countries, and now including even Algeria, warning, because in Niger, there was just a coup against the government, and the UN, you have to put the president back in, you have to put him back in. And the African nations are saying, no, we don't. No, you don't run us anymore. And I spoke with a young man from Guinea. He thinks that World War III could actually start in Africa. And because the tension is now massive. This is the front of the transformation. So I think people having this sense that it's really either a new era or a dark age and mass death. There is no in between. There's no middle ground. As Lincoln said, a house divided cannot stand. The United States at a certain point could not continue to exist half slavery and half free. That issue had to be resolved. The world no longer can stand with some nations developed and some being colonial rulers. It's over. It's the end. There's no coexistence between two diametrically opposed systems anymore.
Rick, did you want to pop a question at Diane? I think she's only got a few minutes, so here's your big chance if you have a question for her.
I really don't know where to take it other than, what do you expect to happen tomorrow at this rally? You have a star-studded lineup of anti-war activists who will be speaking. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, tell us who else is speaking. Of course, you're on the bill. We know our friend Scott Ritter is, but who else is joining you tomorrow?
Garland Nixon will be there. Also Pasta Jardula, who many
He
of
was
us
just
know.
on the other night with us.
Oh, actually, he's
Yeah.
not. He's not going to be able
no?
to make it. Just a correction.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
he's not going to be able to make it. He said he
Changing
was
so
going to
fast.
try. Yeah, we were
Right.
so close.
Okay. I'm very happy because we are having the global majority, as I prefer to call them, from the Global South represented. There will be a person from the Ghanaian American League for Liberty. So we have a spokesman from Guinea. There is a candidate for president of Haiti speaking. The Libertarian presidential candidate, Mike Termott, is speaking. Aaron Day, is that his name, Anastasia? Republican
Aaron Day.
Party presidential candidate. Anastasia can say more. And it is Sunday, not tomorrow, but Sunday at 1 p.m. And I'm sure I'm missing some people who
Jose Vega.
Oh my goodness. Yes.
Oh, Jose. Yeah, he's going to be there speaking. And Gerald Celente, I saw, was on the bill.
Yes,
That's
he
great.
is. Exactly. No, I think it's very, I don't know what will happen. I've been pleasantly surprised by the people I've been interacting with in the last few days who say they're coming, including a very prominent former city council president in Brooklyn, the Brooklyn area. And as I said, this medical doctor who's the trustee at this mosque. These are people who don't typically come out in the street, which is what indicates to me there may be a shift. Is it big enough? I don't know. This is not the end of this. I mean, obviously, all of us here are going to continue being active until we get this nuclear war danger off the table.
And to
This
me,
this
Diane,
date
this is,
is
oh,
this
sorry.
date
Go
is
ahead, Lynn.
important, right? And we haven't mentioned that yet. But you picked this date tomorrow specifically because of, and I'll throw it over to you to just let people know.
It's the day that the United States dropped a nuclear bomb on Hiroshima. It's the only time in human history that we've ever used nuclear weapons, and it was done by the United States. And so this is
not once, but twice.
Twice. And then a few days later on Nagasaki. And at this time, when we are so close to nuclear war, this is the most appropriate time to talk about this, to honor the people who were killed. It wasn't just, I mean, they were obliterated. They literally don't exist. Their bodies were obliterated. I mean, there's horror stories. I mean, I don't know how, what, on your show, how much I can say, but I've read some of the testimonies of survivors, and it's absolutely horrific. I mean, it's literally like a horror story of, people describing their skin peeling off or, the eyeballs melting. It literally is horrific. And when you think about that, that's what human beings did to other human beings. This isn't a regular war. This is an act of terror. It's an act of terror. And this is never something that we should ever allow to happen, ever. And for us to get to this point right now where we have state officials that are saying we could win a nuclear war, or you have people abroad in NATO countries who are saying we could win a nuclear war, this is absolutely insane. It's completely insane. And the majority of the population, I think, agree with that's insane. And so
I thought all that sort of talk went out after the Cold War, but boy, was I wrong. It's back.
Why do you guys think that there's so much complacency or acceptance of that idea? The idea that there could be even a limited nuclear exchange, that it could, in some way, one side could win a war like that. What has changed?
Drugs. I mean, I'm not really kidding, but do you know the percentage? And I don't just mean weed and heroin and cocaine. I mean, psychiatric meds. Everybody's mindset is being managed. It's crazy. People are told you shouldn't be depressed. I can't pay my mortgage, my property tax, my medical bills. My people are saying they can't afford to buy meat anymore and don't see any sign of anything changing. And then we're told that a guy with senile dementia is supposed to be a viable presidential candidate. So, and then what I say, well, you shouldn't be depressed. Well, why not? That's a legitimate feeling. No, take this pill, take that pill. And people are mind numbed. I think that's a big part of it. I hate to say it, but I
No,
think
that's a great point, Diane. I think you're right.
the other is, I think that they are terrified under the surface. And I was struck by this. I was out in the street yesterday in Manhattan, not far from the UN. We had a little table rally against the war, and this fellow came up, and he was engaged. And then when I told him I was on a Ukrainian kill list, he got really freaked out. And he said, really? How could that happen? And then he was much more connected to the situation. I said, this country is insane. We're sending cluster bombs. They're going to be killing children for decades on the ground in Ukraine. And he actually started choking up. And it was so surprising to me because I didn't think that he was so, and he said, I'm sorry, I can't talk to you anymore. I'm crying. And left the area. He did give his information and so on. But I do think, in a sense, we also have to scratch the surface because you're not allowed to think about these things. The media doesn't give you permission. It's not popular. So if you don't have someone telling the truth loudly, you can't actually tell how people really feel because they've covered it all over with this facade. But when you tell the truth, then you discover underneath there's actually enormous fear. And I think people are not sure what to do, who will lead them, who can make themselves heard, who will say what's on their mind. I think that's why it's so very, very important that people have the courage to say the things that really go against the grain.
That is it right there. You just hit it, what you just said. Courage is contagious. And this coalition grew out of what started back in February with the Rage Against the War Machine rally, which brought together everybody, Republicans, libertarians, LaRouche people, socialists, communists, left, right, everybody together fighting back against this war. And it's evolved, and more groups are coming in, and the coalition is getting bigger and bigger. And now it's evolved into Humanity for Peace. And it's true, like when you're at a nightclub and nobody's dancing, and then one guy gets up and he starts dancing. Next thing you know, the dance floor fills up. Everyone says, well, he's dancing. No, I didn't want to look stupid. I didn't want to be the first guy on the dance floor. Right. But then one guy has the courage to get up and look stupid on the dance floor, and then everybody else does too. So it's really the same thing when it comes to activism, especially on topics like war, anything controversial. We saw the same thing happen with the anti-mandate rallies, like the Freedom Convoy and others, where people were afraid to come out at first, but then they saw the crowd getting bigger and bigger, and they got off their ass and they got down there. So I think that this is going to continue to grow. And you guys were there at the very beginning, trying to be those first courageous people on the dance floor. And, I have a question, though. I'm kind of wondering if the city of New York might monkey wrench this at the last minute because of the chaos unfolding in Union Square today. I'm almost wondering if they're going to declare a citywide emergency and close all the parks this weekend. What do you think of that? I mean, this is at the UN, right, which is sovereign land. So I don't know if the city of New York could stop it, but it's an interesting legal question. Do you think that'll be an issue?
I've been keeping my eye on it. I saw the riots happening, and we sent it to our security team to keep an eye on it, because not just maybe the city would do something, but this also could be a provocation to try to sabotage us.
I wondered the same thing, Anastasia.
We're wondering, so we're keeping our eye on it. I'm hopeful that everything will be okay. I think everything will be fine, but this is just so important to screw it up. Like, we can't afford to screw this up.
It's also interesting that YouTube took our main channel down today. I apologize, ladies. I was really hoping for a large audience tonight to try and get the word out about this extremely important rally. And our audience has just been cut by about 3/4 now, thanks to YouTube banning our main channel. So I appreciate you coming on anyway, even though the audience is much smaller tonight than we had hoped. But we live in censorship world.
Yeah,
And
bad because they've said they've blocked us in Canada on Facebook too,
and
which is where we
Facebook.
used to have a huge audience there. So
Yeah.
they take away YouTube, they take away Facebook. I don't know. What are the
Well,
we're
that's
left
why
with
we
Rumble.
have to be in the street. You have to be real. Happily,
That's
I can
right.
report one of the things we've done in Manhattan in a big way is physical posters. We've had teams of people and leafleting at showings of the Oppenheimer film. So we've gotten thousands of pieces of actual, real, paper into people's hands in the streets. It's very important in a sense.
There is no substitute for face-to-face. That's right.
Right. Exactly. So it doesn't give us a way of exactly predicting who will show up. But just one last thing I want to say, and then I've got to go, because people do know this. I was at a class late one night, and I stopped in a little corner grocery store, and I asked the fellow if I could put a poster up for Humanity for Peace. And he looked to be about 30 years old, maybe Hispanic, American. And I said, "Are you here?" He does the night shift, which would be scary in New York, I would think now. So we're talking about the war, and he said, it might be a conspiracy, but one of my friends said there's Nazis in Ukraine.
Oh, what Nazis? I didn't see any Nazis. You seen any Nazis? Nah, I haven't seen any Nazis. There's no Nazis in Ukraine.
Right.
What are you talking about?
But just think of that, because it's just a total by chance encounter. It's a young guy working at a convenience store. He's not a political activist that I could tell, but he's aware of the situation. So again, getting at what's going on under the surface, what people actually know versus what they're willing to say in public. And he only brought it up because I happened to be there saying that Russia wasn't the cause of this crisis. And then he began actually wanting to talk about what he knew about it.
That's interesting.
I love that. I love that. So tomorrow, this is 1 to 4 p.m. and it's
Sunday.
Sunday. Sorry, I keep saying tomorrow. It's Sunday.
You really want to be there.
Sorry about that. It's been a long week already. But yeah, it's 1 to 4 p.m. Does it start at the UN at Das Hammarskjöld Plaza?
Yes.
And the whole event's there. I was wondering if there was a march to the UN, but it's as the whole
We
event.
don't have a
is
march
there.
planned, no. But
Okay.
we do have a concert planned after at 6 o'clock.
Tell me a little about that.
Actually, Diane, you could probably go through quite a bit. You've been helping to organize some of this.
30 seconds, and then I've got to jump off. The conductor, and this was such a find. I was holding a campaign rally a year ago against the sanctions on Afghanistan and the starvation of children there. And this very distinguished looking gentleman came up to the table and said, "I completely agree with you. This is terrible." He made a donation to my campaign, left his information. I said, "What do you do?" He said, "I'm a conductor." And I noticed he was performing at Carnegie Hall. He's not a minor conductor. And he happens to be from Turkey. And he organized the Symphonia actually for peace. They do peace concerts of classical music, and he's a world-class director. He's conducted the Turkish National Symphony, for example. So I called him for this and said, we really have to stop this war, and we'd like to do the Mozart Requiem. And I don't know if we can even get an orchestra. It's all volunteer. Would you be, and some people are very snooty and purist. "Oh, you could never do it with a piano." They'll say that.
Right.
So I said, "Would you mind if it's just with, can we do it with a piano or piano and string quartet?" I said, "Oh, sure. We could do it with a piano. We can do it with a string quartet." But then what happened is he's so well known and so beloved in his own symphony that they wanted to reach out to the musicians that normally play under him. And we're ending up with a full orchestra. I mean, it's sort of a miracle. And we're ending up with professional, super high level soloists. And we've had a few rehearsals. The chorus is about 80 voices from different choruses all over the city, including
Wow.
very significantly a Japanese American
Mm.
chorus, given the day. And in a sense, this really is like a recognition in memory of those people who died in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And the fact that we're going to have these Japanese American singers with us, I think is very special. And a Turkish American conductor who Turkey being in the middle of a lot of these negotiations. And the chorus itself probably has people from at least a dozen different nations. I mean, it's like a New York chorus. Everybody's in there, old, young, all different ethnic, religious, national backgrounds. And
wow,
sounds pretty good.
It's so beautiful. I know that's going to be deeply moving and very powerful. And it's one of those things I've always liked about the Schiller Institute and the LaRouche movement is throughout your entire history, there's always been an element of music, specifically classical music, in the activism that you do, because you understand the emotional power of music to touch people's hearts. And I love that you're doing Mozart's Requiem. It's a perfect piece of music for this event. So what a cool idea. How creative. That's awesome.
Great. Well, thanks. I'm going to get going.
Thanks for joining us.
Interviewing the conductor on my program tonight, which is what I'm about to get ready for.
Wonderful, wonderful. I will tune in and watch that for sure later.
All right. See you all.
Thanks for joining us.
Very nice
Good
to
luck
meet
Sunday.
you.
Yes, you too.
Thank you.
See ya. That's great. You know, we do have another special surprise guest that I'm working on. So I'm going to let Rick and Anastasia take it for a little while, and I'm going to check in with our other surprise guest to see if they can make it into the studio tonight. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is Sunday at what time?
1 p.m.
1 p.m. And do you guys have a like a live stream set up or anything like that? Tell us how people can watch if they can't get there.
So the live stream you can find at our website, humanityforpeace.net. But I also want to send out the invitation that we have a link for people who want, if they would like to share the live stream of this event on your own platform, we are happy to share this with you. So whoever out there, if you would like to live stream this special UN event and concert, we'll have the concert also streamed as well at 6, then please reach out to us. We would love to share that with you.
Okay. And tell me about the different speakers again. You have Scott Ritter.
We've got Scott Ritter, Gerald Celente. We have Reverend Terri Strong. We've got Garland Nixon. We have the Republican, he calls himself the anti-war Republican candidate. His name is Aaron Day. Mike Termott, who I've had the pleasure to get to know. He's a very feisty libertarian presidential candidate. Jude Ellie, who's a Haitian presidential candidate. Very important given what the United States has done to Haiti.
Yes.
We have the national director of a very important Muslim organization. His name is, I'm sorry, I don't have the press release right in front of me, but his name is Muhammad. He'll also be there. And we'll have Jose Vega and a few other people. I'll pull up all of the speakers here in a second, but Jose Vega will also be there. And, you know, we really want to give people a sense of just, you know, what the potential is right now. I think people feel really isolated.
I'll bring up the website so people can see it on the screen. There it is. Let me just share that on the screen for folks. So it's humanityforpeace.net.
Yes. There we go.
There it is. And there's a video screen, so you'll be streaming it there, I guess.
This is actually a short promo video that we've been producing. It's been ongoing. We've been gathering short video clips from endorsements of different people from around the world.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Can we take a quick look at that?
Go ahead.
Okay, here we go.
Hi, this is Jimmy from Lighthouse Germany, Media Evolution Movement. Every war begins with a lie. To end the wars, We need to stop the lies. The independence of journalism is the key to peace and truth. And the family of mankind has to stand up for peace and truth. We need to form an alliance, such as humanityforpeace.net. Join us on humanityforpeace.net. We will organize worldwide actions and rallies on the 6th of August, the day of Hiroshima. We want to raise our voices worldwide in every country, in every nation of the world, to raise our voices against war and nuclear escalation. Join us on humanityforpeace.net. We have only one planet, and we will stand up for it.
I'm Senator Dick Black, retired. I'm a retired colonel also. I was wounded in fierce fighting with the 1st Marine Division in Vietnam. I'm worried about the reckless and heartless foreign policy this nation is following. I encourage you to attend the Humanity for Peace rally in Manhattan, New York on August the 6th from 1 to 4 p.m. At this moment, no other nation on earth has become more warlike, more aggressive, or militaristic than our own. We've launched unprovoked wars against Serbia, Iraq, Libya, Syria, and Yemen. They did nothing to hurt us, yet we sent troops across the globe and killed millions of them. In 2014, we overthrew the government of Ukraine and installed a puppet regime of our own. Then 2 months after the war started, we blocked peace talks that had almost ended the war with very minimum bloodshed. We pushed Ukraine into a hopeless war that's turning them into a nation of widows and orphans. We're imposing a one world government through brutal force. Who profits? The global oligarchs, the kings, the princes, celebrities, bankers, media moguls, and the sons of influential politicians. They all gather at secretive conferences, places like Davos, Switzerland, to decide just how to enrich themselves at the expense of the voiceless mass of humanity. But we've had enough of this. If you'd like to strike back, join the peace demonstration at the United Nations Plaza on August the 6th. With your help, we can turn this around. So do it for the cause of peace and for the future of humanity.
Let's pause it right there on that.
We are the people who...
Because, I mean, I don't know if you know Colonel Richard Black, but, I mean, this is an amazing, amazing man who he traveled to Syria as a state senator of Virginia to find out what was really going on and met with the government. And this is a man, like he described, he's a former Marine who was a colonel, and he's literally seen war. He's been in war. He's had to do, you know, the duty for his country, and he's been through it. And the fact that he's coming out and standing for this is so important. It's like Scott Ritter, you know, similarly, you know, he always says, you know, I used to brag about, you know, we got to kill those commies. We got to do this and that. But you have people like that who are now coming out saying, we have to stop this. We have to stop this nuclear war that's coming out right now. I think that's just so important.
And in your estimation, how close are we?
I think we're a few milliseconds to midnight, to be honest, given the tensions that we're seeing right now in the world and the fact that we don't have any leaders in the West who are sane enough to stop it like a John F. Kennedy did, you know, who's thoughtful and caring enough to do it. We don't have that right now, which is why we're saying that.
We just got a lot closer to midnight, folks. I have some breaking news. Just about an hour ago, there was yet another explosion at the Kerch Bridge to Crimea, the same bridge that they attacked just a couple of weeks ago and have attacked numerous times. In fact, the special surprise guest that I was hoping to bring in tonight, our friend Scott Ritter, who's an expert on Russia, I do believe he is now swamped with interview requests with this breaking news, so I don't know if Scott's going to be able to join us or not. But real quick, I wanted to show you that over in Ukraine, big celebrations going on about the now the third bombing of the Kerch Bridge. Rick, if you can add my screen, let me show you what's happening in Ukraine right now as we speak. This is pretty disturbing.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, party time in Ukraine. Party time. Could you guys see and hear that okay?
Yeah,
My
I saw the
internet's been
insanity.
wonky. Hopefully that came through loud and clear. It's pretty
just
crazy.
it's
And,
mass. It's a mass
these escalations.
insanity. Mass formation psychosis.
And it brings us closer and closer to that doomsday clock that's ticking. I mean, how much is Russia expected to put up with? And now we see this escalation and ramping up of attacks inside Russia, drone strikes on Moscow. That not a week goes by now, folks, that there aren't attacks inside Russia proper. Right.
Do you
there at the
remember
heart.
when the weapons were sent there? They were conditional upon not using them like inside Russian territory, and now drone strikes, bridges blowing up, and it doesn't seem to matter anymore. It's just more escalation.
Is it any wonder they've, broken off our negotiations on these nuclear treaties, on the inspections, because they don't trust us? And stuff like this is why we gave our word that our weapons would not be used inside Russia, but they are. And our word just doesn't seem to be good for anything. I don't blame the Russians
and to
for not
sit
trusting
back
us.
and pretend it's like, oh, it's not us. We're just providing weapons. It's the Ukrainians that are. No, it's us.
It's us.
We're absolutely involved. You can't give someone a gun and facilitate violence and not take some responsibility for that. We're a party to it.
I need to check in with our man in Crimea, our correspondent there, Kevin Michalizzi, to make sure he and his family are okay. They're getting hit on the regular now in Crimea. It's obvious that Crimea is now a target, and Ukraine and NATO intend to try and take Crimea. And of course, there was an attack on a ship in the Black Sea this morning. I don't know if you guys saw that, but they had to tow a large Russian ship that was severely damaged by some sort of water-based drone that apparently went into the side of the ship. So it's just every day now, guys. Every day.
Yeah, and if Russia is backed into a corner where they're losing or feel that they can't win using conventional weapons, that's when things get really, really dicey. And there's no way Russia is going to stand down. They will not allow. They can't afford to lose the war.
Well, they're not going to lose the war. I think
Right.
it's insane that anybody thinks that Ukraine can win this, and it's insane that, because basically all this means is the only way that this would ever win is if we went to nuclear war. That's the only way that this could end up in a quote unquote win for them. And that would just mean the end of humanity. Who actually wins in that? Nobody wins in that. And, I actually really believe that Russia knows that the United States, the people of the United States don't want this. I actually believe that they think that. And we used to have close ties with Russia. They defended us during the American Revolution. They defended us against the British who were trying to come in during the Civil War with battleships, and they would cut them off. They sent their own navy to protect America, to protect the United States from the British coming in, trying to screw everything up and get involved in that. They were very clear about this. And we worked with them during World War II. We were collaborators. We were, joint men in arms fighting against fascism.
Right.
So what could have possibly happened between this short period of time that all of a sudden they become the enemies of the world? Putin's the next Hitler. I mean, I've seen headlines like this.
Yes.
It's crazy.
Every day.
Yeah.
They call him
crazy.
Pootler. They love to call him Pootler, right?
Which they find personally offensive, by the way, because I mean, could you imagine being Russian and being compared to the Nazis? How angry that would make you? How deeply that cuts to a Russian. Yeah. I mean, they won that war and they lost millions of people. Probably some that we don't even realize,
Well, to this day, many of the dead from World War II in Russia are still unidentified. They're still counting and finding remains. Around the time the Cold War ended, the official death toll in Russia from World War II was around 20 million. It has since gone up over the years to 25 million as they find and identify more remains. Then 27 million, I believe, is the current count. But it's impossible to say. I've heard estimates as high as 30 million people who died in that country in World War II. And that's not even factoring in nuclear weapons. That's just conventional warfare. So imagine the death toll if nuclear weapons start being used. It's incalculable.
And I think people need to realize that if it goes nuclear, it's coming here.
You better believe it. Don't think it can't happen here. Americans, we've always had this sort of tunnel vision that because we're surrounded by these two oceans and we have such a strong military that nobody would ever dare to try and hurt us. But believe me, they can and they will. And if we keep making enemies the way that we are now, there's no guarantees, folks. The United States and Canada. Whatever happens here is going to affect Canadians as well. That nuclear radiation, that travels. And if they strike us, especially if they strike us on the East Coast or up north, Canadians are going to get hurt.
We have we have the warning systems in place in the north. They'll probably take those out. We have industrial capacity, especially in southern Ontario, right along the border. We have other infrastructure that's key as well in other parts of the country. A lot of it right along the U.S.-Canada border. So these larger cities, don't think that we're not targeted here too, folks. We're in jeopardy here.
And remember, there's conventional warfare also. I mean, what's happening with the Kerch Bridge? That could be the Golden Gate Bridge. That could be the Tappan Zee Bridge going into New York. That could be any major bridge in the United States or Canada. It could be the Ambassador Bridge between Detroit and Ontario. All of these key points of infrastructure are military targets.
And let's face it, I mean, if now that we're seeing this war being taken straight to Russia on Russian soil, it's like game on. For the Russians, I don't see where they have a whole lot to lose by expanding the war in other ways on other fronts, because the United States is clearly directly engaged in this. So at what point do they stop pulling punches? I don't think we're far from that.
We're really pushing our luck at this point. We
Yeah.
really are. And
Yeah.
that's why this rally is so important this weekend. That's why I'm raising hell about it. That's why I've been talking about it for 2 weeks straight here on Maverick News. I really want people to understand that this is our hour of maximum danger.
Yeah,
We
I
need
really
to wake
thank you
up.
both for doing that. I really thank you, Lori, for doing that, because, you know, it's not even, it's really not a matter, I think, that of people agreeing or not with us. I think most people do. But because of this media censorship, right, people can't hear about what's going on. They can't hear about what's really happening or what to do. So like Diane, what she was talking about, you know, the need to inspire courage in people. Like that's really the key here, is we have to inspire courage, not just here in the United States, but all over the world, that we're not going to accept this. And, you know, I think what we're doing with this rally, we're actually combining as many media sources as possible. Maybe you've seen what we've done working with No to NATO in the UK. Yeah, like George Galloway, you know, all these different media outlets, they've been broadcasting over all of their platforms at the same time. And so we started working with them, and we're broadcasting on all of our platforms, and we're spreading this out like this. So that first one that I did with them, that had over 500,000 views across all the platforms. We just did one that was with Rage Against the War Machine, Schiller, and No to NATO. I have no idea what that's going to look like. If the other one was 500,000, what is this going to be? So imagine if we were to do that with this UN rally, where we connect all of these media outlets and we supersede over the censorship like this, where we can actually get to the people what's really going on. You know, then people can actually see that they're not alone. They're not crazy. Sometimes when you talk to people, they think they're like, am I the only one that thinks we're about to go into nuclear war? Why are people, you know, watching, you know, Britney Spears? Or why are people, you know, going to Taylor Swift, or, you know, why are they rioting over, you know, not having whatever giveaway they had in the middle of New York? I mean, it just, right. I mean, it's like,
Give them bread and circuses and they will never revolt.
Right. Right. Yeah. And that's really what you're seeing with the drug problem and the way the entertainment industry and everything has been operating. And then you censor, you know, anything that's truthful.
It's just like I said to Rick this morning when we got banned on both Facebook and YouTube. We were trying to figure out why. What did we say that was so controversial? What did we do? And they never tell you, right? But he said, because, you know, we've been covering, especially this past week on the show, been talking a lot about the UFO controversy and a lot of stuff that, you know, might be fake news. It's certainly conspiracy theory. And so Rick was like, well, maybe they banned us for that because the notice they sent said it's because you're spreading conspiracy theories. And I'm like, no. They banned us yesterday because we were talking about Biden's opponent, Donald Trump, who was indicted on 4 federal counts yesterday. And I said, you know, YouTube will let us do all the fake news we want. All that we could just sit here and engage in conspiracy theories and wacky stuff, and we would never get banned. It's the real news that they will not let us do. And
That's exactly right. That's what I've been saying. It's like that's what they want. They want everybody focused on UFOs and chemtrails and, you know, don't eat the food, don't drink the water, but drink 10 glasses of water, stay hydrated, but the water will poison you. They make everybody neurotic. They get everybody, you know, I think you're quite right. Also about, you know, the drugs. There's a whole, whatever drugs you want, there's a, you know, a never ending supply. Take this
here's
pill,
another
feel
ad.
better.
You know, every other ad on TV is a big pharma ad for whatever's ailing you.
And it is driving. There is actual mental illness out there to the point where people now can't tell the difference between what's real, what isn't. And that's because the government, I think, is facilitating it through these congressional hearings into UFOs, where you have a government whistleblower, part of the intelligence community, saying, UFOs are real. And then over here, you have somebody at NASA saying, oh, no, we haven't really proven it yet. So people don't know who to believe, but both sides look official and everybody's drugged up. And then they jam all this other crazy stuff into people's heads through social media. People don't know whether they're coming or going anymore.
And as a result, you have that melee in Union Square today.
That's right.
I mean,
and everybody here in Canada is super excited because Taylor Swift has announced Canadian dates.
Wow. Big deal. So what?
Yeah.
I mean, we're facing nuclear war, and you're concerned about Taylor Swift. Ain't gonna be no
lead story on
okay?
all the major mainstream media news websites.
Wow.
Who cares that the current situation in Ukraine makes the Cuban Missile Crisis look like a walk in the park? Like that was nothing compared to that, right?
You are right.
This is way more serious, but Taylor Swift is coming.
Well, I mean, I could just tell you about some of the responses I've gotten. I mean, I was welling up with the response Diane was describing over the concert, because people are just offering themselves as like a sign of passion. And Irene Maverick, who, man, I love. She's my right-hand lady. We're doing this whole thing together. We're both the lead organizers of this rally, this international demonstration. And we've been getting responses from folks saying, I've been waiting to join something like this my whole life. When you have people saying things like that, you know that this is now their idea and that's not going to be taken away from them. And I think we've just hit a point in the world where people they're like just ready to cry out, like, we have to accomplish this. This cannot keep going like this. The world cannot end like this. And we have 28 sister rallies, all over the world, South America, Asia, in Europe, the United States. I mean, any
Canada?
leader.
Do you have any sister rallies going in Canada?
We should talk with Dimitri Laskaris. I know that he was going to work on something like that up there. But if not this one, there will be another. If we live to see the day,
Yeah, if we do. And I was
organize.
going to ask, I can't think of his name. Sorry, I'm having a brain fart. But there is a very popular Canadian musician and recording artist appearing Sunday at your rally, and I can't think of his name.
Malcolm Burns.
That's it, Malcolm Burns.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of our Canadian viewers know who Malcolm Burn is. And I'm familiar with a lot of his music. I was pleasantly surprised to see that he would also be taking part in this. We need help up there, Canadians. Help us organize. Please join forces with Humanity for Peace. Reach out to them. And again, their website is humanityforpeace.net. You can find out more about this weekend's rally, and also you can get involved. You can join this coalition. You can organize events in your area. This needs to spread. Let's spread it like a virus. Let's spread peace like COVID, baby. Let's get it out there. If there was ever a time to get off the couch, turn off the TV, forget about Taylor Swift, forget about the darn UFOs. Who cares? Let's save the world from a nuclear conflict. We are closer than we think. Much, much closer than we think. And if you have sons and daughters of military age, if you have grandchildren of military age, you really need to be paying attention. You need to get out there, lend us your voice, get in the streets, bring your signs, get on the internet and talk about it. Anything that you can do, help us, wake people up. We absolutely must stop this. And I just heard back from Scott Ritter. He is, because of this breaking news with the Kirch Bridge situation, he's not going to be able to join us. He's going to go on and do a special episode of Ask the Inspector, I think, right now.
Oh, okay.
So we will get Scott back in next week, working on bringing him back on the show. So stay tuned for that. And he'll be there tomorrow because, Scott, he gets it. He was one of the first on board with this movement, even though they banned him from speaking back in February at the Rage Against the War Machine rally. He spoke anyway. He went to a counter rally that was hosted by CPI and spoke there, and he's not going to shut up. You can't silence Scott Ritter. They've been trying for 25 years to shut that guy up. They've used every trick in the book to censor Scott Ritter, and he just keeps on going. Just keeps on going. And that's what we all have to do. Every time they try to shut us down, shut us up, censor us, ban our channels, we're going to find other ways to get the information out. It's at this point, folks, it's an underground railroad of information. And we are all part of that underground railroad.
And that's why we need everybody's help out there to like, share, subscribe, get the message out, share this video around, just, however you have to do it, download it, re-upload it, send it out to people, do whatever you have to do to just get the message out there.
That's right. Please help us. Our main channels are censored where we have our largest audience today. So we're counting on you, Mavericks. Help us out. Share that video around, get the word out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, as this thing escalates, it seems to me that what has to happen from the NATO U.S. side is that for them to get what they want, which is, I think, direct intervention and involvement, they have to make it look like whatever the Russians do to defend themselves, they have to make that look like an act of aggression.
Right.
And I don't know exactly what that might end up looking like or how that will be how it will manifest itself, but they will manipulate the situation in such a way where there's some sort of an attack, the Russians will respond, retaliate in an act of defense, and they'll make it look like it's an act of aggression, because whatever that attack is, it will happen on another country or someplace in Ukraine where they say that crosses the line. That's it. Now we have to go in. I'm just looking for that incident. It's not far off, I think, if we continue to see this sort of escalation inside Russian territory. I'm terrified.
And the desperation too, Rick. I mean, we know that Ukraine's losing, NATO is losing. They're getting extremely desperate. That's why we're seeing the ramping up of attacks in Russia proper. And what keeps me awake at night, guys, is I fear, and I certainly wouldn't put it past them, to stage a false flag attack on the United States or Canada and blame Russia.
Yeah.
And then it's on, folks. It's on.
Yeah, I mean that's a very possible scenario. We've seen just new stats come out in the past week suggesting that as many as 400,000 Ukrainian troops have now been killed. I think 2 million wounded inside Ukraine. About half the population of the country has left the country. You only have about 18 million people left inside Ukraine. The country is in shambles. This is not in any way, this doesn't look like they're winning to me. This looks like total devastation. So where does that lead? They need more boots on the ground. They need more soldiers, more bodies. Where are they going to get those? Our sons and daughters.
Well, I think that's all. Oh, no, go ahead.
And I've seen just in the past week what I would describe as trial balloons through social media, where there are mentions of possibly instituting the draft on the U.S. side. There were posts just yesterday about the possibility of, and I don't know if it was real or if it wasn't. I think it might have been a fake post, but that there were Ukrainian officials that were looking at requesting 30,000 Ukrainians to step up from Canada, Ukrainian Canadians to step up and join the fight. It's just these kinds of posts on social media because, Canada has the largest Ukrainian population outside of Ukraine in the world, out in Western Canada in particular. And so I saw posts yesterday saying, There were Ukrainian officials saying it's time for Ukrainians or Ukrainian Canadians to step up. You might be Canadian, but you're also Ukrainian, and we need your help.
That makes a lot of sense, Rick, because how small the Canadian military is. You know that you haven't got enough troops to even protect your own homeland, let alone send over to Ukraine. But you've got this huge diaspora of Ukrainians, the biggest in the world, as you said, outside of Eastern Europe. That's a formidable fighting force. If they all decided to go or, volunteered to go. But, recruitment, military recruitment here in the United States is way down. Lowest levels in years since this war started. Americans are not rushing to their local recruitment office, and they won't unless there is an attack on the United States. If there's a Pearl Harbor type of incident, if there's a 9/11 type of incident, any kind of attack on our mainland, that will certainly get recruitment levels up. People will volunteer because then we've been attacked and we're in this thing. We're in the war. But as far as the draft goes, this may be an unpopular opinion, but I'm going to say it anyway. If it's true that 1/3 of Americans want to put our boots on the ground, I say bring back the draft. Put your muscle where your mouth is. Americans do not care about foreign policy. You look at poll after poll after poll, right? Foreign policy and war historically polls less than 2%. It's just not a matter of concern to Americans. And it hasn't been since the Vietnam War. That was the last time that Americans cared above that 2% figure because their sons and daughters were going over there and getting hurt and getting killed. So the only way, it seems, for Americans to understand the reality of what we're dealing with is if they have to put some skin in the game. And the draft, as much as I would hate to see it happen, I think that if we're going to fight a war with Russia, we're going to need a draft. And it's the only way to get people to pay attention. Sad to say.
Well, I think the other thing that we can do, because the United States is a melting pot. We're a melting pot country. And there are tons of nations of people from other countries or who have descendants from other countries, especially from the global south or from the BRICS nations, who do understand what we're talking about here. And they can feel what they're seeing outside of this nation as a movement of anti-colonialism. And what we're doing with Humanity for Peace, with all of these different groups, the Schiller Institute, is we're combining those two movements, the peace movement with the global south, as one unified anti-imperialist movement. Right. I think in the United States, we need to reach out to all these groups. Screw these peace organizations or whatever that can't work together. They haven't gotten their crap together in years. What the hell have they been doing? We're
they just argue on the internet with each other. They're completely irrelevant. You guys are actually doing things that matter.
They tell me I don't want to work with a libertarian. It's like, okay, well, if you didn't know they were a libertarian, would you have cared? Really? Or I don't want to work with, that trans person, or people come up with all kinds of excuses for why they can't do anything. And I think we can overstep those things like what we're doing right now, bringing in all these different nations involved and having their voices also heard in this. And I think this is also flanking the enemy. Right? Because if you remember at Rage Against the War Machine, what were they doing? They were saying, oh, those people are racists. Oh, those people are fascists. Oh, those people, they were doing this and that. Yep. You know what? We've had very little attacks, and I think they're flipping out because what are they going to do? They're going to call, Jude Ellie, the Haitian presidential candidate, a racist. Give me a break. Or we're working with former President Donald Ramotar, former president of Guyana. Are they going to call him a fascist? This is ridiculous. That just sounds ridiculous. So I think we can flank the enemy, right? Because they use gossip and all these different kinds of things to scare people. It's not real. They use it to scare people. So you jump over those things by coming up with new ideas and uniting more and more people around this concept of saving the world by going above our ideological differences.
You know, speaking of scaring people away from taking part in events such as this, I have a very dear friend who lives in Washington, D.C. And when you guys did the Rage Against the War Machine rally back in February, she's on board. She's with us. She and her husband really wanted to come to that rally. And you know why they didn't, Anastasia?
Why?
They were too afraid of the crime in the city. They're afraid to go anywhere. They're afraid to go to the park. They're afraid to ride the metro. They're afraid to go to an anti-war, a peace rally, for crying out loud, because they don't feel safe in America. In the major cities in America right now, a lot of people are just afraid to be in a public place where things could go wrong. And then you see what happened in Union Square today in New York. I'm afraid that that event could, unfortunately, have an impact on this rally Sunday. Some folks just might be afraid to go. They don't want to get trampled. They don't want to get hit by a cop or worse. You know, I hope that's not the case, but unfortunately it is for a lot of people. Their self-preservation instincts kick in and they're scared, you know?
Well, you know, I find the best way to overcome fear is through beauty. And when I was a young organizer, when I first started doing this, and there'd be people in I've been called every name in the book. I mean, you don't want to know things people have said to me. We put I used to go out with a Hitler mustache on Obama because he was, you know, that was our poster we had.
I remember that was a great poster, very effective poster.
Thank you. Freak people out. There were tons of people who didn't agree with us then and were like, well, you were kind of right. But there were people who would get in my face, and singing at them actually would completely destabilize them. Singing at them, I would sing spirituals like the Negro spirituals, the songs of the Civil Rights Movement, or American patriotic songs. And that's really some of the best ways to flank people's rage. Or honestly, like there's people out there that just get triggered, not because of you, but because they're struggling with their own paradoxes in their head. Like this is an example of something in the past. Like I remember being in an argument with somebody who was an Obama supporter and said, you know, Obama's not killing people with drones. And I'm like, yes, he is. He's got a whole, you know, it's almost like trading cards. He goes through, he's got different people on there and he selects them, you know, and then we go and we kill them with the, you know, with the drones. And this is killing people at weddings and apartments. And then the person says, well, he had to do it. And I was like, okay, well, which is it? He had to do it or he's not doing it? Which is it? And so then they started freaking out. But it was this process of actually getting them to see how they were really thinking, which finally got them to just like explode. It wasn't me. It was them struggling with having to deal with this paradox in their head. They're making excuses for things they know that are wrong.
You're reading the chat, aren't you?
That's why I'm smiling. Yes.
Oh, what happened in the chat?
Rick, I'm going to let you explain. I have to get back to Scott Ritter real quick.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
It's just we have a regular viewer who's a lovely guy, and I'm grateful to have him here every night. And you know, he thinks that the solution to all of our problems is to exile the Knights of Malta. And I don't know how familiar you are with the Knights of Malta.
Really,
it's a real thing. They you know, they say that they're engaged these days in charitable pursuits, but there are those who think that this elite group of knights who have their own sovereign territory in Rome and at an address, not an actual country, but they're still a sovereign entity. The members of the Knights of Malta are, really form the backbone of a secret cabal. So I've just embraced it, and I'm like, yep, let's flush them out and exile the Knights of Malta. And so yeah. So we're gonna get T-shirts made and stuff too.
To exile the Knights of Malta.
That's right. Yeah. And Choosy, his name's Choosy, and he's here every night, and he's very serious about it. There is some truth. You can look it up. Like, I mean, it's a real thing. It's not just a conspiracy theory. It's a real group. Now, what are they really engaged in? You can be the judge after you evaluate the evidence. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole tonight. I'm sorry it even came up, because I don't want to take away from the seriousness of this subject, and because this is real news we're dealing with here tonight, and a very important event. And as you've seen, even tonight, folks, this escalation continues with this attack on the bridge, with the mass formation psychosis being used. And I believe it is a form of propaganda that is being unleashed upon populations in the world in unprecedented, highly technical, extremely effective ways, in ways that we're not even fully aware of, where they're truly controlling people's minds, their attitudes, their perspectives, to get people to, they're manufacturing consent for the war and for further escalation. That's really what is going on. And we saw it with the chanting in that nightclub or wherever that was tonight. That's a bunch of people like cheering for violence. That is, if you think about it, really step back and look at it objectively, that is insane.
Absolutely. No, it is absolutely insane. But you also see that here in the United States, just this celebration of violence. Even just like, this is going to sound stupid, but the video games that kids play, little kids like Pokemon, I'm going to kill them. I'm going to kill it. It's like, okay, we can think that's kind of goofy, but what are you really telling your children? Like, yeah, it's okay to, kill things and beat it up. And, so you get people in this like funny mindset. And then you ask when they're older, all this celebration of violence, why are they homicidal and suicidal? Why, why are they going out and rioting in the streets over, something stupid?
Grand Theft Auto, running
Grand
people
Theft,
over,
oh my God,
shooting people.
yeah.
I'm like, I picked it up. I started to play it one day. That was a long time ago. And I was like, what is this? Like, you're shooting people on the streets. It's just a crime free for all. That's what the game is. It truly glorifies violence, and that's okay. But they're going to ban our YouTube channel. Can't tell me though that video games like that aren't part of this gigantic psyop that is just constant these days, and it starts with our kids. I used to be very much like, and I'm very anti-censorship, but I think there is absolutely stuff going on levels through mass media, through social media, video games, movies, television, but especially social media today. There is stuff going on that is highly technological and psychological, a combination of those things being used to manipulate people. And as I say, manufacture consent for a variety of things, including this war. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I absolutely agree. I mean, we had a number of articles. There's an article in, I'm an editor-in-chief of Leonora magazine of the Schiller Institute. And my friend Kevin Pearl wrote an article called On the Digital Dictatorship. And he goes through how they manufacture these narratives, and they can use, color schemes. They can use certain phrases, right? It might seem creepy. Like you listen to the media and you just hear the same phrases over and over and over and over again. Yes. And it's a form of brainwashing.
Yes.
Right. This is, are you familiar with Bertrand Russell? You ever heard of Bertrand Russell?
I've heard the name, but I don't know.
He's known as the peacenik out of Britain, but Linda LaRouche called him the most evil man of the 20th century. And this guy actually wrote a book where he goes through how you can brainwash people and convince them that snow is black and that you would want to organize one world government through the mass brainwashing of human beings. And he goes through the process of how you do it. And people still honor this guy within the peace movement as being some great hero. This guy literally was organizing for mass brainwashing. And that same idea is what they're using now within social media, within government censorship, within our educational system, right? I mean, our kids this is why they hate school. They're just taught to take in information and then regurgitate it. It's not education. That's just, you can Google it. I mean, basically, kids are like, well, why do I need to go to school if I could just Google everything or use AI or whatever, to write my paper? There's no creativity in it. And that's really the key, I think, is people harnessing their own creative powers to think. That's what they're scared of. That's what they don't want us to do, is to think.
That's exactly right. In fact, I'm seeing, and I won't get into it too deeply here on, exactly what the purpose of this is, but I am seeing stuff going on social media where I'm certain that it is brainwashing for political purposes and to get people agitated so that they go out and take action. And it's very concerning to me. And you touched on something very important. It's key phrases repeated over and over and over again, appealing to people on an emotional level. And in what I'm seeing as well is people are actually being told point blank, don't think about it, just feel it in your heart. And if you feel it in your gut, that's what you need to act on. And you need to act. I won't get into the particulars of this because it's kind of sensitive, but I am seeing a campaign like that ongoing right now on social media. It's very concerning.
Wow.
And I think they're using the same techniques to just build support for this war and the ongoing spending and the money itself. I mean, maybe you want to comment on that, but we are financing all of this. We as taxpayers, the country is being thrown into even more debt that we can't afford anyway. Where do you think all that leads us?
I mean, it's kind of disgusting when you think about it. You have people, I used to live in Seattle, Washington, just a few years back. I live in Detroit, Michigan, which is not any better, but in Seattle, Washington, it used to be a nice place to live. And now you have homeless encampments everywhere. People who are drugged out, absolutely drugged out on heroin, methamphetamines, fentanyl, and they're just laying around. They're like, they're zombie people. They're absolute zombie people. Portland is even worse now. They legalized all drugs. There are people everywhere. And these encampments, I mean, multiple cities along the West Coast have had to declare states of emergency for it's a humanitarian crisis, and nothing is being done about it. So when you think about that, and then you think about what's happening with this war, where we're defending Nazis, we're supporting Nazis in Ukraine, and there's no money that's going into dealing with an actual humanitarian crisis in this country. I mean, that's just one, right? If you think this with the homelessness and the drug problem, which has to be addressed from the top, in my opinion, I think you actually have to address this from the top. Just saying one city or another, I mean, San Francisco is totally overloaded. If you just say one city has to deal with it by themselves, then everybody's going to flood there and it's not going to work. This has to be dealt with from the top. And I think all this wasted money and wasted life in these wars, wasted life, children who could have been geniuses. If we were to be using these funds to actually develop our nation, right, we could be working with other countries, right? What if we did like what China's doing, right? Where they said, hey, if you stop the war, then let's work together on rebuilding your country, right? That's what just happened with Saudi Arabia and Iraq.
Yeah.
Right? Let's do that. That's what John F. Kennedy did, right? He was the peace president. That's what we should be doing again.
Yeah, and we have a peace candidate running right now, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. As you know, I support him in spite of all the attacks I'm getting for supporting him. But what do they do when we finally have a viable peace candidate who would bring an end to this war, who would engage in peaceful competition with China, not a war? They're attacking him. They're demonizing him. They're slandering him. They're dragging him through the mud. And then I'm just waiting for it. Any minute now, they're going to try and find some trumped up charge, if you'll pardon the pun, to indict him on. I would not put it past this administration, this White House, considering what they're doing to Donald Trump. If they can't censor Kennedy, they're going to have to come at him one way or another. And I hope that it's not the way they came at his father and his Uncle Jack.
Yeah, I mean, I think my greatest advice to any presidential candidate right now is to work on forming a political movement, like what we're doing with Humanity for Peace. Like, if you actually want to have the backing to be able to say and do what needs to be done, you have to organize a political movement. Don't be a political skirt chaser. Don't chase political skirts, which unfortunately is what I've seen many politicians do, which is why we're in this mess.
Right.
Right? Because they lie. They say, oh, yes, I support you. We're going to do this and that for you. Then they get in, right? Like AOC is an example. What the hell has she done? It's worse than nothing. Worse than nothing.
She keeps voting for more war.
Yes.
Every time. Every time she votes for more of this.
She signed a letter, which was barely anything, that said, oh, could you please work on some negotiations, Biden? And she retracted it, flipping out.
The next day.
Yeah.
Didn't even take 24 hours, and all of those Democrats backed down.
And the excuse that I get from, because I also intervened on Rashida Tlaib. That was another intervention I did.
That was awesome.
Thank you. And the excuse I get from these types of political figures is that, well, I can't actually say what I really want to say because I don't have the backing, and you're being out organized 10-1 and da 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 da. And that's why I'm saying to you here, we have to organize the political movement. We have to organize the truth, because they feel like they can't do anything. It's not a good excuse. They should be out here organizing with us.
Damn right.
We're going to do it. We're just going to do it. I don't care if they join us. So we're going to do it. And we have presidential candidates at this, at this event who want to do it.
And I wish if I don't know what Bobby's up to this weekend, but I've been bugging him about it. Scott Ritter's been bugging him about it. We're saying, hey, please come to New York City. Please.
We would love to
stand in solidarity with this rally. It's so important. It's so important. And folks, there's something I just have to say. Forgive me while I get on my soapbox for a second. There are a lot of big podcasts out there on Rumble, on YouTube, who make a lot of money pretending to be anti-imperialist or, anti-war, but I don't see them actually organizing anything. I don't see them actually doing anything except grifting. They're making a lot of money off super chats and memberships, and it's all about the money for a lot of them. I'm going to be really honest with you. They don't get banned. Their channels never get banned. I'm not going to name any names, but they break every community standard in the YouTube rule book, and they never get banned. Why? Because their platform is so large and they get so many donations, and YouTube takes 30% of every donation. So those people are making YouTube a lot of money. And that's why YouTube doesn't ban their channels. YouTube bans little guys like us because we're demonetized anyway, and our audience isn't millions. So we're not making the platform money. So what I'm asking each and every one of you to do, this is not about us at Maverick News. Rick and I work for free. We spend money to do this show. We have a lot of expenses. We get hardly any donations. We're not in this for the grift. We're just not. We're going broke doing this, guys. We're doing it because we care. We're doing it because we're trying to save the world. We're trying to literally save humanity here, and that's not hyperbole. That's not an exaggeration. We really do love everybody in our Maverick family, everybody watching right now. Your life has value. You matter to us, all of you, even when we disagree, and we often do. We love you. We want you to be safe. We want you to live in peace. We want you to have good quality of life, good jobs. We want you to have a home and a car and the American dream or the Canadian dream. We want all of that for you. And we ask only one thing. If you can't afford to donate, that's okay. We understand this economy sucks. Everybody's struggling right now. Some folks can't even afford to send a $2 donation, and that's okay. But you can click the like button. You can subscribe. And most of all, and this is what I'm asking all of you to do, everybody watching this show right now, share this video. Tell a friend about this rally. If you know anybody who's anywhere close to New York City, who you know cares about the future of this planet, of mankind, ask them to come. It's Sunday. They're probably off work. It's a day of rest for many. Ask them to come. And if you can't do that, at least watch the live stream on Sunday. Support them. And would you tell us again, Anastasia, where people can watch the rally live if they can't be there in person?
So if you go to humanityforpeace.net, there is a special page which is called Stream the Rally. And you can go there and you can see the New York City live stream.
That's awesome. Also, while we're talking about donations, I know that you guys are getting pretty close to your goal. And I'm going to go ahead and pop the link down here at the bottom of the screen where people can chip in a few bucks. If you can't come, if you just want to do something, at least you can help them achieve their goal, because what they're doing does cost money. And everything in this world is so expensive now. Just printing flyers, I'm sure, is a huge expense, and posters and things like that. So maybe you can help them out with a donation. But the point is, please help. This is not a joke. This is not a drill. This is World War III that we're in, and it's escalating very rapidly. And this thing could go nuclear at any moment.
Absolutely. And we've been blessed to have so many people who have just dedicated their time and energy and their talents. I mean, the people who are just offering, professionals who are offering, who did this website for free, who made this website for us, video developers who are just like, my God, we're facing World War III. Let me help you make these things. You know, people who do social media. Anyway, we've been really blessed to have so many volunteers who have been helping. So we've kept our costs really low. As you can see, we only need $8,000 to pull off an international demonstration.
That is amazing, really.
Irene and I, we organized this in 6 weeks. Like, this was full on mass mobilization across as many different groups as we possibly could, and just plowed through. And all we really need is security. We're paying for security because people out there are crazy. And we want to keep everybody safe. A podium and AV and some posters. That's all that this is going towards.
Oh yeah, you're having a concert. Of course, you have to have a good audio visual system, a good PA. You want the music to sound good and everybody to be able to hear it. And lighting and sound and all that costs money. I actually run sound for a living. That's why we're not.
Oh.
I wanted to tell everybody, you know, we usually do Strange Bedfellows here Saturday nights at 9, and there won't be a show tomorrow night because I'm running sound for a band. So I'll be busy tomorrow. This is kind of a Strange Bedfellows on a Friday night instead of Saturday night. It's like a continuation of our conversation from last week when we had Jose Vega and Kynan on the show. But it's that important. That's why I've been hammering this for 2 weekends in a row. I really believe in what you're doing. I support you and salute you, and I want this to succeed because I don't want a nuclear war. Period.
Thank you. No, really, thank you both for doing all of this and helping us you know, really, you're helping us build a movement is really what you're helping us do. That's what's happened. This is like the civil rights movement.
Right.
Really, it really resonated with what you said, that we're like the Underground Railroad.
We are.
That is what we are. And we're finding all of the best fighters for humanity, people who aren't going to be scared to take a few punches.
That's right.
Yeah, we're fighting to stop a nuclear war. Of course we're going to be attacked. Of course it's going to happen, but we have to have the courage. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I shall not be moved. You were talking about old spirituals of the civil rights movement. That was a popular one. I shall not be moved. Sing it with me. I shall not be moved like a tree planted by the water. I shall not be moved. I don't care how many times you censor me, YouTube. I don't care how many times you censor me, Facebook. You've done all that you can do. You've taken away my money, my income, my audience. You're doing everything you can to shut me up. You've done everything you can to shut up my guy, Robert Kennedy Jr. You've done everything you can to shut up Rick Walker and Anastasia and everybody in this movement. Our friend Scott Ritter, Diane Sare, who was here earlier, when she was running against Chuck Schumer, they tried to keep her off the ballot. They shut her out of the debates. They would not let the woman debate him. Okay, and they're doing the same thing to Kennedy now. They're trying to shut us all up. So we are the Underground Railroad, and I don't care how many barriers you put in our way. We're going to keep going. As long as there's breath in my lungs, as long as I can talk, as long as I've got this microphone, I'm going to find a way to get this message out to the people. And I may have to get really creative about it. We're finding new ways, aren't we, Rick? Every single day to find new platforms, new ways to get the information out. It is the
Smoke
Underground
signals,
Railroad.
bat signals, whatever it takes.
Carrier pigeons.
Yes.
Maybe you'll have to come out to a book table with us.
I would love to. And, you know, I'm out here in flyover country. I'm in the heartland of Oklahoma where, you know, nothing seems to happen here. I'm nowhere near New York. You know, you guys have invited me to all your events and I've so wanted to come. I'm unable to travel. I'm kind of stuck here. So I feel powerless sometimes. Like I wish I could be there. I wish I could afford to make the trip, but I can't. And so I'm doing what I can, sitting here in my little studio in my house, because I feel like I have to do something. And this is all I can do. This is the talent that God gave me. These are the skills I have as 35 years in journalism. Same with Rick. I mean, you know, he retired a long time ago from the mainstream media and said, to hell with this. I don't want to do this crap anymore. But events in the world made us both say we have to do something. We have to step up. We can't be silent about this. So we're doing it. You're doing it. And everybody needs to do something. Something. You can't just sit there and watch Taylor Swift videos.
But you can share this one.
Because folks, if it's wartime and if the nuclear weapons start flying, there won't be a Taylor Swift concert. That'll be canceled. I promise. There won't be any concerts anywhere. There won't be any football games. There won't be any sports. None of it.
Yeah.
Netflix will be gone. I promise.
That's right. Won't be no Netflix and chill, baby. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, you know, we sit here and we kind of laugh about it, but it is really that serious. And I think people have difficulty here in North America wrapping their heads around that because we've been insulated by the oceans. We've never had to deal with war in the same way same ways that they have in Europe and in Asia and even in Africa. We just haven't had to deal with it. We haven't had to deal with poverty on the same scale that they experience it in those other countries. And so I think for people here, war is like a movie, and we watch it on television. When you saw the war in Iraq or the war in Afghanistan, especially the Gulf War, the way they cover it, and even this war in Ukraine, the mainstream media, they stand there. It's like a sports event, and they get their graphics up behind them, and they put their little icons of the tanks up, and they move them across the screen, and they point, and it's no different than covering a football game for those guys. And I think when people watch that stuff, it's entertainment as much as anything else. And it's in this age where there's this giant psyop ongoing constantly, it's hard for people to distinguish even that from, what's real and what isn't. Is this really a war, or is it just a movie? Saving Private Ryan, is that reality, or is that truly history, or what is it in people's minds? It's a difficult thing to get them to grasp, to truly understand the real threat that's upon us. Even with the nukes, we've lived with, under the threat of nuclear war for so long that the current generations, I think they've become desensitized to it. I grew up in great fear of it. I think you guys probably as well. But younger people, they're being told, oh no, a limited nuclear exchange, we could win that. And I think they're buying it because they haven't really had that fear instilled in them. It's very concerning.
That a great point. There's hardly anybody left on this planet. If they are still here, they're very elderly, who remember 1945, who actually remember how the Second World War ended, who remember Hiroshima and Nagasaki, which is what this event is all about this weekend. We don't want another Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And by the way, the nuclear weapons we have today, at least 100 times more powerful than what we did in 1945 to those two cities in Japan. And you saw how many people died. Again, we still are counting the dead, but it was at least 225,000 souls lost. Is that about right? Is my number correct?
Yeah. No, that's about right.
And Rick and I, we're old. We're Cold War kids. So we grew up remembering that sword of Damocles over our heads. As little kids, we did duck and cover drills in our schools. We lived with movies on TV like The Day After, growing up in the 80s. Some of you out there know what I'm talking about. But if you're young and you were born after the end of the Cold War, say if you were born after 1991, you didn't get that experience. You really don't have that fear. And I'm not trying to scare you, but it's a healthy fear to have. Some fears are healthy.
When I was growing up, when I was a kid, there was an air raid siren. I could see it from our kitchen window. And once a year, they would come and test it.
Yeah.
That was a reminder that there was a real possible threat out there. And that was during the Cold War. And then one day, when I was a teenager, they came along and they took it down. And I said, what are they doing? And they decided they didn't need it anymore.
Right.
I disagree. Now, I don't know what people were supposed to do if the nukes were going to come and land on us. There really wasn't any place to go. I suppose if you're in an area where you don't get incinerated, you can take steps to protect yourself from the fallout. But nevertheless, the fact that they took it down was a milestone moment in my mind, where it was like people are just becoming way too comfortable with this situation. And that's where we're at today. And it's just become worse and worse and worse over time since that day that they took down that air raid siren just across the street from me. It's one of those moments in time that, it's burned into my brain. that day.
Yeah,
and
I can
here we
imagine.
sit tonight having this discussion.
Do you guys think that we've had a false sense of security for the last 30 years since the end of the Cold War, that, oh, we don't have to worry about it anymore, everything's great in the world? You know, even though there are more nations that have nuclear weapons over the last 30 years than ever in our history, we weren't worried about the Russians anymore. But why the heck were we, getting rid of our civil defense systems and our air raid sirens and things of that nature? It was as if we just let our guard down completely and thought, it's never going to be a problem again.
Yep. Not just the physical defenses, like the military defenses and the warning systems, which we do still have some in place through emergency broadcast systems and so on, and stuff that goes out over the internet to some degree, although now they're banning news on on social media, so I don't know how they're going to get information out to people effectively, but that's another story. But we've let our guard down politically as well, where we became way too complacent. We just expected these politicians would, as I say, pick up our garbage and we wouldn't have to worry too much about it and just go to the polls, every few years and elect our representatives and just let them take care of stuff. Well, this is where we've ended up, because we've been electing people who, through lack of scrutiny, have become corrupt, greedy. They've exploited the situation and led us down a path to extreme danger.
And
this
they
is where we're
don't
at.
give a fuck about you.
Human life has no value. They don't care about you. That's right. It's on full display. All Joe Biden cares about is the next business deal that he can use where he's using his influence. It's just brazen. It's on full display. They don't even try to hide it. The corruption is on full display, and people are still going to vote for the guy. It blows my mind.
Blows my mind too. I mean, Diane Sare, who was here earlier. Chuck Schumer is so bloody unpopular. I mean, how does that guy keep getting reelected? How do the warmongers like Nancy Pelosi and Senator Lindsey Graham, how do they keep winning elections? I'll tell you how. Because they're keeping the good guys and gals like Diane Sare off the ballots, off the debate stage. And that goes for my guy, Kennedy, too. And they're trying to lock up a former president of the United States, Donald Trump. It's an outrage.
And silence us. And Justin Trudeau, with his policies also, look what's happened there. Censorship, Bill C-18, C-11, news, like, gone off Facebook tonight. We're gone off Facebook because people are not being allowed to see what we are producing. Gone on YouTube. This is the result of government policy in Canada and in the US.
Same policy, same type of leaders, different countries, but that's the only difference. It's just a border between us, but we're in the same damn boat, all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I have some thoughts on that question that you raised, Lori. I was thinking about, after the war, after World War II, Franklin Delano Roosevelt was dead. And who did you have come in? You had Harry Truman. He was the one who dropped the nuclear bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. You had a complete change of leadership.
And FDR never would have done that.
No.
I'm convinced. Never.
No, he never would have done that. No. Right? If you see the Oppenheimer movie, a lot of younger folks who don't know the history, the reason why there was such a race to get the nuclear bomb is because the Nazis were building the bomb. Mm-hmm. And so the idea is that we had to get the bomb before the Nazis did, because if they got it, then they would blow up the world and control everybody. So there was this, it sounds crazy.
Oh, but it was a legitimate fear.
It was legitimate.
Absolutely.
So, right, I agree. FDR never would have done that. And so what did you have? You had a change of leadership that happened in the United States and a capitulation on morality, really. And that's when you really started to see this Bertrand Russell. We were talking about this earlier, Rick, this Bertrand Russell idea of brainwashing, right? A lot of the music started to become more repetitive. A lot of the education started to get worse. People started to, assert funny things into the culture. And when you had good presidents or you had decent people in power, what happened? They were killed. Right? Look at what happened to John F. Kennedy or Robert F. Kennedy. Right? You had that whole slew of a very short amount of time, right? Where just political, not just in the United States, but internationally, political leaders were being assassinated. You know, and we had put out this report called the International Assassination Bureau for the LaRouche organization, which documents what this was, why they did it, it's how it affects the way people think. Because the effect of that is that they basically, this is the State Department, you know, it's an empire network. Basically what they're saying to people is, if you have the nerve to stand up and say the truth, then we're going to kill you. And that terrified anybody, right? Neil Gallagher, right? This was a congressman who was a personal friend of John F. Kennedy. He wrote whole books. He went after the network, going after John F. Kennedy to hide the magic bullet. I mean, like, anybody's going to believe a magic bullet killed the president of the United States? Give me a fucking break. That's you know, this is crazy. But this was rammed down the people's throats. And Neil Gallagher was ousted from government. I think they actually like put a fake or a dead body in his basement or something like that. There was something that happened.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Yes, they did.
Yeah. And
yeah, it's like the Godfather putting a horse's head in your bed, just send you a message.
Right. Yeah. So you had that whole process of people who were decent people who wanted to fight for the truth, and they were just completely ousted out of government. So anybody who since then has just been terrified to say the truth.
Ron Paul, Tulsi Gabbard, who was ran out of Congress. Ron Paul was forced to resign because they redistricted his district, and same with Tulsi. It's like all the good guys and gals, if they can keep their jobs in Congress, they're very lonely. They're a small minority who, you know, they don't have the votes to pass good legislation. We need to elect more good guys and good gals in the Congress, in the Senate. That's why I'm glad that Diane's making another run for it. I hope people in New York will vote for her. She is an honest person. We need to get honest people and get these corrupt guys like Senator Graham out. We need to get these warmongers out, get the neocons out, you know, and keep the good guys in. That's why I'm not a fan of term limits. I'm always harping about term limits on this show. You know, there's kind of a movement out there because people are so
I agree
sick.
with you, actually.
Yeah,
I agree
I'm
with
glad.
you.
Glad to hear that. I think we need to repeal the 22nd Amendment, because you were speaking of Harry Truman. The 22nd Amendment was passed in 1947. And it's important for people to realize why we had the 22nd Amendment. The Republicans took control of Congress after Franklin Delano Roosevelt served an unprecedented 4 terms. He was reelected by a huge majority every time. You know, Republicans voted for him. Yeah. The country wanted him. They felt he was the best man for the job, and literally would not let him leave office, even when he was visibly ill and dying. But they still would not let him go because they loved him that much. And so when the Republicans took control of Congress, they passed the 22nd Amendment, which said we're never going to have another president for more than 2 terms. Now, of course, that does not apply to Congress. Congress critters can sit there until they're 100 years old. Look at Dianne Feinstein, for crying out loud. She's not even in her right mind anymore. And our Congress is full of them. People think that term limits are the answer, but they're really not. That's a false choice. For example, if you're Apple, would you want to fire Steve Jobs? If you're Tesla, do you want to get rid of Elon Musk after 8 years? I mean, you want to reward your good employees. You want to keep them, especially if you have a good leader, if you're lucky enough to get a good guy or good gal elected, you want to keep them. You want to vote the bad guys out and keep the good guys in. So that's why term limits are not the answer. That would force the good guys out after only 8 years. And there's also a lot to be said for stability. That's another good reason to get rid of presidential term limits, because you look at countries like, well, since we're talking about Russia, Vladimir Putin. He's been president off and on for 20 some odd years now. Xi Jinping in China and other countries, they tend to have one leader for a long period of time, and it brings them stability that you just can't get when you're changing horses every 4 to 8 years like we do here in the States, because the new guy comes in and undoes anything that was good that the last guy did. Why? Because partisan politics. Look at what Joe Biden has done since he took office. He immediately reversed pretty much every good policy that Donald Trump had. Our southern border is just one example. So yeah, I'm all for getting rid of that 22nd Amendment and getting some stability in our leadership and getting some good people in there and keeping them there, because the good guys are always forced out of Congress one way or another.
Yeah, and then addressing why we have so many bad ones, who keep getting in there. Like, this culture, this depraved culture that we have. Like, whenever I talk to people about these term limit things, which is, I agree. I think just rotating bad people, a lot of bad people into the government doesn't really solve the problem. You're just saying, well, let's get a lot of turds in there. Like, we got one turd, we'll just get more in there. And it's a terrible idea. Like, let's actually get to the core of the problem. The problem isn't the limits or how long they're in there. The problem is that they're in there in the first place.
Exactly.
So what do we do? Well, you have to organize a movement. You have to organize a change in thinking and how people are operating. And Americans need to speak out. They're too scared. They're more worried. They have been more worried about losing their jobs, about being killed, these are legitimate things to worry about. But quite frankly, at this point, you need to be more worried about losing humanity than all of these other things. And Martin Luther King, the reason why I joined when I was 18 years old, why I joined the LaRouche movement when I was 18, I finally came across this quote, the speech that Martin Luther King gave. He said that you may go on to live to be 90, but as soon as you gave up that thing that you were willing to give your life for, you died then. And that just hit me like a ton of bricks. And I said, I have to be true to myself and fight for what I know needs to happen. And I'm 33 years old here today.
Today's your birthday?
No. I just mean that I'm here now, after so many years, doing this. And I just can't believe we're in the middle of this.
But people like you give me hope, Anastasia. You, Jose, Kynan. It's one of the things that I love about the LaRouche movement. I was just telling this to Rick the other night. That one of the coolest things that Lyndon LaRouche did was his youth outreach and education programs. Jose and Kynan were telling me how they got into the movement, that, there was a LaRouche group there with a table and literature set up at their school. And they were curious, and that's how they learned. But the education, the young people that I see coming out of this movement, they're some of the smartest people that I've ever met. Certainly the smartest 20 and 30 somethings. The LaRouche movement gave you guys a quality of education on political science and history and other things, economics, that is better than what you'd get in public school, in high school, and even a lot of universities. You're honestly some of the smartest and most aware and awake people that I know, young people. That gives me so much hope for the future at a time when it's hard to find hope for the future. I see so many confused and sad and mentally ill young people out there who have just, been brainwashed and medicated and driven to mental illness. And I look at you guys and I see that you've got all your marbles. You know what's going on. Most of all, you know what needs to be done to fix it, and you're doing it. So that inspires me. And that's one thing I just love about your movement. Keep working with the young people. You guys are our future. And old folks like us, we're counting on you, you know?
Well, you look great, Lori.
Aw. Thanks.
Rick, you too. I couldn't
Does
tell.
he?
Oh, well, thank you.
I can't. I really, honestly, you keep calling yourselves old farts, but I can't.
That's how we feel sometimes. I think,
Yeah.
we only feel old because we remember the before times. You know? I miss
When
the
every
before times.
time somebody says that, it just makes me feel so sad.
Mm.
The before times.
Yeah.
The before
I remember
times.
those wonderful years after the Cold War ended, where there was so much hope for a peaceful world after my whole youth was spent growing up in fear of nuclear war. And I hoped that we would never have to feel that way again, and that future generations wouldn't grow up with that fear that Rick and I had our whole lives. And here we are back again, repeating the same old stupid.
Yeah.
Only worse.
Only worse. That's right. That's right. I'm going to tell you a personal story before we go, because it relates to this conversation. As you guys know, I've known Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for 16 years. Back in 2007, I had an interesting discussion with him. Bit of a debate, a little bit of a disagreement. He was saying in his speeches as he traveled around the country, and I kind of gently called him on it one night. He would say that he would talk about President Kennedy's inaugural address, where he was talking about the Cold War, and he framed it in his inaugural speech as our hour of maximum danger. And Bobby at the time said that, that time had passed, that we would never be in that position again. And this is 2007, folks. And I said to him, I disagree. I said, I think this is our hour of maximum danger. And he probably thought I was nuts to say that at the time, because there was a time of relative peace, although we were at war in Iraq and Afghanistan at the time. He didn't see that as a nuclear threat, and that was correct. But now look at us. If this isn't our hour of maximum danger, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
Like Rick said earlier, this is far more dangerous than the Cuban Missile Crisis. And I don't think most people realize it.
I completely agree. I
think Bobby gets that now. He gets it now.
Yeah.
He totally gets that now. Just took him a while. It's a process for all of us, isn't it? Waking up. And it's important that you educate yourself. And it's important that you read history, study history, because there's a historical precedent for everything that happens in this world, damn near everything. You can consult your history books to find a roadmap, guideposts. How did they handle this then? What's the way out? What's the best road to peace? You know what they say, those who don't know their history are doomed to repeat it. And unfortunately, our education system sucks so bad that most people don't know their history. So what are we doing? We're repeating it. And we're repeating the darkest chapters of our history as we see anti-Semitism on the rise. We see fascism on the rise. We see bigotry, hatred, and violence on the rise, crime on the rise, censorship on the rise. Need I go on? These are things that education can fix. And if the schools aren't going to educate your kids or your grandkids, it's your job to make sure they get a good education. And you're never too old to learn. I'm an old person, but I still read books every day. Every day. You never stop learning. If you stop learning, that's when you die. So keep your mind sharp. Keep studying, keep learning, and keep fighting. As I say, keep fighting for peace, because it is a struggle. Peace doesn't just happen, It can only happen if we fight for it.
Yeah.
And we have a formidable opponent, a formidable enemy that is running our countries, both of our countries, and running all the Western European countries. We can take our countries back, I believe, peacefully, without arms, without terrorism, without revolution. I still believe that it can be done through education, through activism, and yes, voting. Voting, I think, still matters. At least we have to try, right? We have to try. And that's the whole point of what you're doing this weekend, is you're not going to let them demoralize us into doing nothing, right? Because that's what they want. They want us to be too afraid to leave the house, too afraid to go participate in a protest, too afraid to speak out because we might get censored, too afraid to speak the truth because we might get demonetized, right? They got all these ways to get us to self-censor.
Yep.
You know, and like Rick said earlier, when we come back to YouTube, whenever our ban period is up, we're going to have to now self-censor even more than we already were, because we don't want to get banned again, right? And that's the mind fuck. That's what they're doing to us, folks. They're making us shut up about certain subjects, because if we do, that's the end of our channel. And so the government doesn't have to censor you if you're censoring yourself, right?
Yeah.
See how this works? See how this works? And I hope they don't censor you Sunday at your rally. I hope they keep the parks open and that all goes well and peacefully and successfully. I really, really want this to be huge, and I want the very best for you and everyone in your movement. You're great people. Everyone I've met in the LaRouche movement is a quality human being, every last one.
Thank you.
So thank you. And you are especially sweet, Anastasia. I think the world of you. So thank you for joining us tonight on
Thank you so
Maverick
much, Lori.
News.
Thank you.
And
Thank you, Rick.
it's great for Diane to stop
Thank
by.
you. Yeah.
I know Scott wanted to be here, but breaking news prevented that. So he'll be back with us next week. And I wish I could be there. I'll definitely be watching. Once again, folks, if you'd like to support this rally, you can go to humanityforpeace.net. You can make a donation. You can watch the rally. Send that website to your friends if they're anywhere near New York City. Help us get the word out. It's so vitally important, because I'm afraid the clock is ticking close to midnight.
Thank you, Anastasia.
Thank you so much. Have fun, guys.
Yeah. See you on the weekend.
See you
online.
And we'll see you again back on the show soon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
Isn't she great? I knew you'd love her. I just knew you'd love her, Rick.
Yeah.
They're all really good people, you know. It doesn't matter what our political disagreements might be. I know that we disagree with the LaRouche people on some economic stuff, and like when we have our friend Caleb Maupin and the communists come on the show, and yeah, we don't have to agree with you on that. But when it comes to working for peace, we're all on the same page here. We're all humans. And
absolutely,
I just, I don't see anybody else actually doing something about it. If Republicans did something about it, I'd like to see more conservatives and Republicans getting out in the streets and raising hell. But they're not.
Yeah.
If they do, we will support them and we will have them on this program. If Democrats, liberals, libertarians, socialists, whoever wants to do something good for the human race to stop a war, you are welcome here on Maverick News. I don't care what your damn politics are. We are all brothers and sisters in the human race. We all bleed red, and we all die if there's a nuclear war. So politics really just doesn't matter to me that much.
Think about your sons and your daughters and your grandkids and future generations.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. We only get one shot at this, folks. One shot. Once the first nuke flies, there's no turning back.
Yeah.
You can't undo it.
And with that,
there's a happy note to end the show on.
Yes, that's right.
Oh man,
Yeah.
have you got a good joke lined up or something we can?
I
something we can do to
you know
lift
what? I
spirits?
do have something.
Good. I was hoping.
Just to raise the spirits here, just give me a
Yes.
moment,
Thank
and
you,
I'll
Rick.
bring it on. I'll bring it up here.
We can't just leave the show on that note.
That's right.
Christ almighty. No.
I've got just the
knew you would.
medicine.
I knew you would. You've always got something up your sleeve.
Here we go. All right. Hang on. It's just taking me a moment just to get the link. I should have had it queued up in advance.
See, I forgot to bring a joke today or one of those funny remix videos I like to bring you, but I know you've got something.
Oh, no, we already did that one. Okay.
Make them laugh, make them laugh. Got to make them laugh before we go. The best way to heal the world, I believe, is through laughter. I think it's the most powerful weapon of all.
Okay. Here we go. So this is the third in our trilogy. Oh, I have to get rid of this here. Hang on. Let me get rid of that. There we go. Can I bring that up? And
Put my
here
glasses
we go.
on so I can see what you got. I'm blind
All right.
without these.
This is our good friend, talented musician. This is very Canadian. I'm sorry, Americans, my U.S. friends. This is Kevin Westfall. He's becoming a regular here on the program. Great musician, very Canadian, sort of a modern day contemporary Stompin' Tom Connors. I don't know if you understand who that is, but
I do.
That's what he is. Okay. And I love Kevin, and I've just fallen in love with his music and with him. And here he is in Elmira, Ontario, singing the Canuck with his band.
All right, country music. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, I won't have to change no muffler. I won't have to repair the heater. Well, I won't need to buy new tires. I can sell off the winter meter. Just a hitching post and a bag of oats sounds a heck of a whole lot cheaper. You know, there ain't no way I'll ever pay $1.60 a liter. Oh. I'm gonna trade in my pickup truck and get me a horse. Because me and Petro-Canada we're now legally divorced. Well, a new form of transportation, well, I need a new source. I'm gonna trade in my pickup truck and get me a horse. Play it again, boys.
That guy's a great steel player.
Yeah.
All right, friends. Like I said, the summer of 2000, gas went from 50 to 79. How many people here think it's going to get cheaper? Here's my advice. Get a horse. Well, she might take a little more time, and she may take a whole lot longer. Well, to get around town, she's fine. Well, my cash flow's a whole lot stronger. Just a bale of hay and I'm on my way. That's all I have to feed her. Because there ain't no way I'll ever pay $1.70 a liter. I'm gonna trade in my pickup truck to get me a horse. Because me and Petro-Canada we're now legally divorced. Well, a new form of transportation, well, I need a new source. I'm gonna trade in my pickup truck to get me a horse. I'm gonna trade in my pickup truck to get me a horse. One more. I'm gonna trade in my pickup truck to get me a horse.
All right.
Thank you.
What a band. Great band. I love that.
Gas
Rick.
song. The gas song.
That's great stuff.
Kevin Westfall, Canuck. There you go.
He
Very
just made a new
Canadian.
fan out of me. I love it.
Buck 70 a liter. Well, we're paying that now. Thank you, Justin Trudeau, and the carbon tax.
What is that in U.S. dollars?
Oh my gosh. Well, let's just do the conversion, shall we?
I paid $3.20 at the pump last night. USD.
Oh my goodness. It's difficult to do that conversion. I think you're looking at probably, what does that work out? 6 something a gallon?
What?
Probably.
Oh, Lord. Oh, Lord. What? $6 USD?
Well, calculator here.
Jeez.
Huh.
Wow. That can't be right. Is that right?
3.78. So $1.70 times 3.78.
Oh,
$6.43 a gallon.
That is painful. So, are
Tell
anybody
me about
regretting
it.
buying a big ass truck? If you drive a big ass gas guzzling truck, that's my God.
Can you believe that?
Oh, just to fill up your tank is a few $100 there.
Yeah. When I was a kid, gasoline was still sold by the gallon in Canada, and it was about 70 cents a gallon.
Mm-hmm.
Today, $6.43.
You ain't going nowhere, son. Well, that's why they want you to get those electric cars.
Yeah.
Right?
That seems to be the plan
Mhm.
on the government side anyway.
Yeah.
We'll see
yeah.
what happens. But that was the gas song. Thank you, Kevin Westfall again and band. They're fantastic. I just love those guys.
Those guys are hot. Those are great pickers. Really amazing band. I'm in love with those guys now.
Yeah.
Definitely want to check out some more of his work. I've seen you play him before on Maverick News, but that particular song just grabbed me.
They're
What a
really
great
good. They're
band.
pros, man. They've been around a long time.
Yeah,
They sure
yeah.
have.
Well, I got a concert to go to myself tomorrow night. I'm running sound for a local country band. So, yeehaw! It's Oklahoma, baby. We love our country music.
But I will try to be back here tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you, everybody, for spending your time here with us this evening. So I'll see you tomorrow night. And don't forget, if you don't come by tomorrow, make sure you check out the online stream from the Peace Rally in New York City from 1 to 4 p.m. And is
Sunday.
that Sunday?
It's on Sunday. Yeah,
It's Sunday.
I kept saying Saturday for some reason, but it is Sunday the 6th. Yeah.
1 to 4 p.m. And what time zone is that? Is that Eastern time?
That would be Eastern time, noon
Eastern
to 3 Central.
Yeah.
And
So-
morning out there on the West Coast.
1 to 4 p.m. Eastern time, Sunday, to watch that Peace Rally. I might even pick up the feed here. You never know. We'll run it on these channels too.
Yeah.
Maybe.
We'll be
see.
covering it.
Yeah. One way or another. I'll be back tomorrow night, though, 6 p.m. Eastern time on the flip side.
See ya.
This has been a Maverick Multimedia production.